Hey everyone, happy Sunday.
Hey there, everybody out
And look
there.
who we have with us as a special guest tonight, Mr. Dave McRae.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me on. Great to be here.
Awesome. This is going to be a
Happy
fun
to have
night.
you.
Yeah, everybody will get their Halloween fix tonight. We'll get some Black
Oh,
Christmas fix in there tonight, some other horror, and assorted other picture postcards.
Very nice.
Yes. Well, it is the season for Halloween. So, I know people are excited about it. It's the spooky season has arrived.
Let's see who's hanging out with us in the chat here. Of course, our good buddy, Colin Moody. But Dave.
There he is, Mr. Colin Moody.
How you doing,
Rob
Bob?
Windsor is in the house. Our buddy Lurch is there. Cody Snyder's in the chat.
You
What's going on,
rang.
guys?
Lurch in the house.
Our Packers, Gene's in the chat. Look at this. Everybody's hanging out tonight. Awesome.
Yeah, Colin was just part of our Days of the Dead watch along last week. That was a lot of fun with Cody
Okay.
Snyder. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it got interesting towards the end, but yeah,
Yeah.
a little too much wine, a little too much vino, but it was
Okay.
fun.
All right. Well, hey, it happens. It happened.
Awesome. Yeah, so everybody's in the chat hanging out tonight. So one of the primary reasons is because obviously it's already the 15th. Everybody survives Friday the 13th, myself included. A couple of weeks. It's going to be Halloween season, and we're looking forward to the release of It's Me, Billy, Chapter 2. I'm a big fan of what you did with the first one. It was absolutely amazing. I love the twist ending, and I could spoil it because if you haven't seen it, I don't know why you're watching this. Go watch it. And looking forward to seeing where you guys go with it after this.
Yeah. It's coming out October the 11th, Friday, October the 11th. So very excited about it. Just putting the final touches, the final tweaks on it now. So it's looking and sounding good. Hopefully you guys will agree. So we'll see.
If you got the heart of the first one, Dave, I'm sure we'll enjoy it because the first one was very good.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's all there. It's exciting to be able to finally finish it. And this has been 5 years of my life. So it's between the two films. So it'll be nice to move on to other things. There will not be a Billy 3. We are moving on to original projects now, where we can actually seek distribution and work our asses off, but get paid to do it.
But actually get paid for once, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah. So there will not be a Billy 3, at least not from us. I mean, who knows? Maybe somebody else out there will do it. I don't know.
You started on the first one before COVID then, huh?
We did. Well, I made the announcement that I was working on a Black Christmas unofficial sequel in actually there's a video on my channel. It's from July of 2019. And I said I was entering into development with my buddy Bruce. And then it was the next year when COVID hit and the whole thing. And then we were raising money and shot the movie. And it's been a long time. It's a long time. It takes a long time to work through, to get movies done, especially when you're working at a certain level. You know what I mean? So it's because obviously when the SAG strike hit last year, that affected us, so it's a whole thing. So it'll be nice to be able to put it to bed. And I don't mean that as in I'm sick of it. I'm just kind of like it's served its purpose. It's run its course. And it'll be great to have it out there and move on.
Yeah, let everybody enjoy it. Just sit back and, hey, this is what we worked on. This is what you supported.
That's exactly right. That's it. And we're the only people who have done it. So, unofficial or not, it's the only sequel out there. So it's kind of exciting.
Other than two shitty remakes.
That's right.
Yeah, they got worse as they went on, those remakes, didn't they?
The 06 one was okay. It was palatable.
It was better than the later one, I think.
Yeah, 2019. Dude.
No, I agree.
Yeah, that was absolutely horrible. And it was great. I remember when you first announced it, I'm like, oh my God, you actually got Olivia Hussey. And obviously, she had health issues, which kind of really stinks, but that would have been amazing. And although, just from the trailer, I forget what the woman's name is that's playing Jess Bradford, but definitely could have been her.
Yeah, that's
look a lot alike.
Lisa Kovac, and
Mhm.
she, yeah, we did. We had Olivia Hussey attached to the project. We would not have made that announcement if we did not have an LOI signed from her, which is a letter of intent. Was signed from her. We were dealing with her reps, and basically, what a LOI is, a letter of intent is. I mean, there's all kinds of letter of intents in business and things like that. And it's the same principles in the entertainment industry. It just basically says, hey, I like what you're doing. I like this. If you can, I will give you permission to use my name and my images and my likeness and all that for the purposes of seeking funding, right? Because, that's the name that's attached to the project. This happens in indie filmmaking all the time. And if you can raise the funds, right, using me on board as bait, right? I mean, that's how it works, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Then I will do the project, as long as also these certain criteria can be met. Because obviously there were certain criteria that had to be met with her. She suffers from agoraphobia, which is not a secret. That's out there. It's in her own book that's out there. So it's not like I'm said something that shouldn't be out there. But so there's certain things that need to be in place for her to feel comfortable and things like that. And we met all of them. Every single thing her manager asked us to do, we did. And so, we were ready to go. And unfortunately, she has been dealing with health issues over the last number of years. She had cancer not too long ago. This is not what that was, but just to let you know that, like, there's been some health issues she's dealt with over the last, I'd say 7 to 10 years or so. So she's in her 70s now. And it was advised, her physicians advised, because of sort of the recent health kind of things that she had been dealing with, not to travel to Canada because of the stress and things like that, and the stress that would put on her and the travel and all this kind of stuff. And so it was just, we had talked to her manager, and one of the options was, well, can you wait until January? And this, of course, is November. And I said to him on the phone, I said, look, if you can give us a guarantee, then we'll push the shoot. Knowing, though, that it's going to cost us probably at minimum about $10,000 to push the shoot. Because when you're 12 days from going to camera, everything's locked in. Flights are booked, hotels are booked, crew, cast. I mean, everything is locked in. And this isn't just, it's a real production. So, there's things that are in place that if you have to push the shoot, there's no guarantees that your actors are going to be available in January. There's no guarantees that your crew is going to be available in January. So then, maybe, certain people that were on board, now you got to go find, a new first AC, a new second AC, a new key grip, because they've got a big shoot they're doing in January, and then they're not available to do your shoot. Like, there's all sorts of, it's not just, oh, we just pushed the shoot. I mean, this is a legit thing. And so, but we were prepared to look at that opportunity or at that possibility as something, very serious, if he could give us a guarantee, but he couldn't give us a guarantee. So this wasn't like she just had a cold, right? And she could, it's more of a chronic thing she'd been dealing with. And, cause it was just a cold, well then, whatever. I mean, but this is more of a chronic thing. So he said no. And then he said, her manager said, well, maybe what about this spring? And I had to make an executive decision right there on the phone, knowing that Bruce would have agreed with me 100%. I said, we can't do that. I said, we have a deadline we need to meet. I mean, look, could we push it? Well, yes, technically we could. It's not like there's any money involved in terms of box office, and we are the studio and things like that. It is a not-for-profit film. So yes, technically we could move it, but we didn't want to move it. We have our own deadline in place, which is Friday, October 11th. There's the symbolic nature of that in terms of the 50th year anniversary. And so it just to shoot the movie, and there's no guarantees that our cast would be available in, the spring. Again, these are all professional actors, professional crew. These aren't our friends just hanging out, waiting for us to give them a call. I mean, these are professionals working in Canada's film and TV industry. So, we have to be mindful of that. We could push it. There's no guarantees that anybody would be available. And so that was just too long. And he even couldn't give us a guarantee for that. So I said, look, I hate to do this. I said, but I think we need to move on. And, it's not something that nobody wanted to do, but Olivia understood. She understood completely. She wishes the best of luck. She supports us 100%, you know, in what we're doing. She thinks it's, you know, a great idea. But unfortunately, this is the breaks. And this happens in Hollywood all the time, and it happens on the indie level. You know, when you're dealing at the professional level in terms of, you know, real films, this can happen. And so we had to make that executive decision. It's not what we wanted to do, but we were worried that because she was the catalyst, the name that was attached to the project, that you know, part of the reason why a lot of people donated to the campaign, and we ended up raising, you know, over 140,000 Canadian dollars, which is about 110,000 American. We were worried that people were going to want a refund. Not everybody, but there would be a substantial amount of people that want a refund. And how can we blame them? Right? I mean, if they donated on the principle that she was going to be in the movie and she's not going to be in the movie, well, now I don't care. I want a refund. And we understood that. We understood that. We were prepared for that. In our press release, we made a case for why we hope you don't do that. But we had no control over it. To this day, and this is not hyperbole, to this day, at this very moment, sitting here talking to you, not one person refunded. Not one person.
That's great.
That's great.
Everybody was still interested in the film. I mean, everybody was disappointed, and I know you got a couple jerk offs that were giving you shit like, oh yeah, you just probably put the name out there just to raise the money, which is a load of horse shit. Why would you do that? Because if you did, she could have just easily posted like, hello, I'm over here. I'm not involved in this.
Her name was all over Screen Rant, Collider, Bloody Disgusting. No, I think no. I'm a professional. Bruce is a professional. We both work in the entertainment industry. We would not put our reputations on the line to do that. That's just ridiculous. No, she was attached. Yeah.
And did she give good? Did she give you a lot of feedback on the first one, or when she watched it?
No, not really. It was really because what had happened is that we were dealing mostly through her rep, and the reason for that is because of the SAG strike. Right. And so when there's a strike on, we're not allowed to deal directly with the actors. And so there's a lot of we're allowed to deal with the reps, the actors. That's why she hadn't signed a SAG contract yet either. Right. Because we had agreed to what was in the contract, you know, the salary, this, that, you're going to get this, we'll pay for this, you're going to flight and hotel. This is your hotel. This is what we're going to do for you. All that was all in writing. We had that all there. And so it was all in place, but we couldn't have her sign a contract legally because SAG would not allow her to do that because the strike was on. And then, of course, we were in the middle for several months on trying to get an interim agreement through SAG because we were not associated with the AMPTP, the American Theater something. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about. We what SAG was, exactly. I always get I think it's AMPTP, I think. But anyway, that was what SAG was striking against, right? The producers, you know, essentially. And so our film was not a studio released movie. So we were an indie film. So we were allowed to apply to SAG for an interim agreement that would essentially allow Olivia to work on our project because we're not associated with the AMPTP, I think is what it is. I'm probably wrong on that. It's something like that. And then of course, she's not, you know, going against the strike. She's not crossing the picket line, so to speak. Right. But that took about 2 months. That whole process was 2 months. I mean, you know, and so that's a whole thing, you know, as well. So it was and of course, because we're a union film here, we're dealing with the SAG equivalent here in Canada, which is ACTRA. And so dealing with two unions, you know what I mean? And back and forth. So it's a whole ordeal, you know, and so worth it, of course. But when you want to make a real film, you know, this is what you got to do. And so it's a lot of hard work, and but I wouldn't rather be doing anything else. Although I would like to get paid the next time.
Getting paid is good.
I will say that. Yeah,
that's important. That's important.
It's important. And look, we knew going into both of these films that legally we're not allowed to get paid. Right, because we are the producers, and because it is a fan film, right? You know, legally it's a fan film because we don't own the intellectual property. So even though it's a professional production, we have to put that label on it because we don't own the IP. So legally that has to go there. So we're allowed to raise money to make the movie. We're just not allowed to make money from the movie as producers. And so we're the only ones not getting paid, right? So we're doing it all for free. And we knew that going in. It was for our portfolios. It was to do something special for Black Christmas, for the Canadian film industry, as one of the most famous Canadian films of all time. We knew that going in, and it was for our portfolios and all that. But now that we've done that, right, and now it's time to we can't live in that world. That's just way too much work to work at that level and not get paid. It's just you just can't you can't do it. Exactly.
Tell everybody go to work every day and not get paid. See how you like it. Well,
that's exactly it. So
you'll change pretty quick with that.
Oh yes, you will, and I don't regret it. Neither of us do, but we're both like, this is we can't do this because it's a full-time job away from your full-time job. Mm-hmm. I'm a professional voice actor. That's my day-to-day job. Bruce works in the film industry as well, and when we're not doing that, we're working on the film. But it's a full-time job working on a real film, when you're dealing with unions and actors and guilds and it's so much work and takes up so much time. And especially when you're a low budget indie shoot, right, where you're sort of a Swiss Army knife and you're handling a lot of, your producer, director, writer, props master, script supervisor, you're handling a lot of the jobs that you would otherwise, if you had a lot more money, would obviously, hire more people. So it's, but it's tough. It's tough, but no, it was great. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of parameters. I'm sure time is money there.
How long was the shoot? Was the shoot like 2 weeks?
The first shoot was total was 6 shooting days. The second movie was 6 shooting days as well. So 12 shooting days for both movies. And there's travel days on either end of those days. So 2 weeks essentially, but probably about 12 or 13 actual shooting days for both movies, like combined. So 6 for the first one, 6 for the second one.
It's great that you got Lynn Griffith back now. Now, did you ever think of approaching Andrea Martin?
We did not think about that. Andrea Martin, of course, Canadian staple. And we didn't because so one of the reasons why we approached Lynn and I have the same voiceover agent. So Lynn and I, so that's sort of a common thread there that we have. Lynn helped out with the first campaign by doing her Christmas ornaments and things like that. And I had her on as a guest on my YouTube channel for the first film. So Lynn and I sort of knew each other. There was a bit of we had already broken the ice there. Even though both her character and Andrea Martin's character of Phil they had both been killed in the first film. We did reach out to Art Hindle. We had a role for him. He read the script, really liked the script, thought Bob Clark would really have enjoyed it. Art said he really liked the first film, but he says, you know what, for me at this time, I think I'm going to pass. And that's fair. That's totally fair. So, he's older now too. I mean, I don't know how much he's acting, or maybe he's being a bit choosy, or maybe he's just fucking enjoying his life and just sitting back and, you know what I mean?
Blame him.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But, we reached out to him, but he supported us as well and thought it was really cool. Lynn was sort of the go-to because of just the connection we had already had with her. It just made sense.
It would have been great if you were able to use the original house. I know you did reach out to them and they were pretty much like, no.
No, that was on the first shoot. We initially, so when you watch the original Black Christmas at the very end of the movie, the final shot is the camera would have been on a crane, not a drone in those days, pulling away from the house. And so you see Lynn in the chair with the bag over her head, and the very last words you hear uttered in the movie, in the entire film, is from Billy, and it's the words, "It's me, Billy." It's the very last thing you hear in the entire film. Some people who are not familiar with the movie and they hear our film, or sorry, they see our movie, it doesn't make sense to them. They go, "It's me, Billy." What does it even mean? I don't understand. Is that sort of a silly little thing? It's like, if you're a Black Christmas fan, you know exactly what it means. When he's about to kill Margot Kidder's character, I believe, he's over the bed, he's got the glass unicorn above his head, and you hear him going, "It's me, Billy." You know, I mean, it's not, I didn't just pull that out of my, you know, it's connected to it's connected. And it's the very last thing you hear in that first movie. And the last thing you see, of course, is, you know, the camera pulling out, right? You see Mrs. Mack, the house keeper, in the background, kind of dead there, and Lynn in the foreground with the bag overhead, and we're pulling out, and just the phone begins to ring and the credits roll. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to almost, not identical to that shot, but the last thing you see is the house. So the first thing you see in It's Me, Billy is the house. And we were going to open up and you would see the house again. So there's a nice sort of poetry there in terms of the canon, the canonical connectivity, as I like to call it. And then we would have sort of, now our shot would have been probably a drone, and we would have sort of, you know, and then the camera would have kind of panned over, and you would have seen Victoria walking up the street, you know. And so that's sort of how we wanted to open the film. But no, when we went over there, it's in a very sort of affluent neighborhood in Toronto, and where it's got sort of fence around it and a buzzer. So that tells you the kind of, and it's on a private sort of road. You can walk down it, but it's private in the sense that really, if you don't live there, you have no reason to be walking down there. And so, yeah, we hit the buzzer, and I just heard, "Yes." And I said, "Oh, hi, my name's Dave McRae. I'm such a," and I gave them about a 30-second spiel, and all I heard was, "No, not interested." And that's it. And sort of, you have nowhere to go from there. You're kind of like, I didn't, you know, like I was hoping to at least get to the door, you know, where I could talk to somebody, you know, show them, you know. It was myself and Bruce who was with me. So I was hoping we could sort of, you know, lay the pitch in, you know what I mean? And of course we would. I mean, you know, again, we were not, and you know, we wouldn't be asking for free. We would have paid them, right? You know what I mean? For their time and to use the house, however many, you know, thousands of dollars that may have been. And so, you know, we were prepared for that, but we didn't even have an opportunity to sell it. So, but again, I mean, who knows? Maybe I was the fourth person that day, right? I mean, who knows? Yeah. Who knows? But so no, we had to pivot and sort of restructure the opening. So now when you watch the movie, it's the two girls. It's the three girls on the side of the road having just come from the house. Right. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Yeah. So, yeah. So, but it worked.
Now, is that house held in regard, sort of like the way, like the Myers house is? Do you know of a lot of people that actually go to that site? I know there's a bunch of YouTubers that have been there, like Sean Clark, and a couple other people have done those sites. But is that like a destination where a lot of people go to take pictures? Is Black Christmas that big in Canada that people want to go there, just like everybody here wants to go to the Myers house?
Right. You know what? The sense that I have with Black Christmas here in Canada is, I'm going to say that it is, ironically, even here in Canada, it's still very sort of niche-y, if that's even a word. You know, it's niche. It's people know about it, obviously. When you talk to people, "Oh yeah, Black Christmas, yeah, well, I haven't seen that in a while," you know what I mean? But again, it's, you know, a Canadian film or not, even if it was an American film, there's lots of American films that never spawn any sequels, never spawn a franchise, that are sort of, you know, you go, "Oh yeah, I remember that one." You know, it doesn't really matter, you know, what country it's from. It's, if it never, you know, again, I sound like a broken record when I say this, because I've said this on my own channel, but it's true, because it is, no matter what you think of the movie, it is one of the most important films in horror. And it predates Halloween by 4 years. It was released on the same day as the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They're both, you know, celebrating their 50th year anniversary this year. And on the same day, October 11th. And, but Texas Chainsaw went on and spawned a franchise. And thanks to Halloween, sort of in 1978, that is sort of seen as the official kickoff of the golden age of slasher films, 78 to like 85, 86, somewhere in there. Black Christmas was nowhere to be seen, and Black Christmas wasn't a success. I mean, it was a success, but it didn't embed itself into the pop culture zeitgeist, as I like to say, like those other films did. Black Christmas, its release in the US, it was released here in Canada on Friday, October 11th. Then it was picked up by Warner Brothers in the US, but it wasn't released as Black Christmas. It was released as Silent Night, Evil Night. And yeah, and that's because Warner Brothers thought, especially at that time in the 70s, people would think it was a blaxploitation film, right? Black Christmas. They're going to think it's like, all these black actors, and it's just, you know what I mean? And so they didn't want that. So they changed it to Silent Night, Evil Night, and and then it was released in December. So you'll see this year, you'll see a lot of Collider, You're Bloody Disgusting. I mean, maybe because of us, maybe they'll maybe they'll do something a bit different. Maybe they'll be like, oh, it's actually, I don't know. I mean, that's a little, yeah, who knows? But you'll probably see, because last year in December, Bloody Disgusting, Collider, all these, outlets did it's the 49th anniversary of Black Christmas. And I'm like, well, technically, maybe for you guys south of the border, but technically
in Canada,
that's not when it was first released. It was first released on Friday, October 11th here in Canada. That was when it was first released. But in the US, yes, it was released in December 1974 in the US. So it didn't do that well. Then a few years later, it was going to get its network premiere. Network premiere. But what did they do? Instead of changing it from Silent Night, Evil Night back to Black Christmas, they changed it to something else called Stranger in the House. And it's like, okay, now it's got a new name, right? And then it was pulled just before it was about to premiere because Ted Bundy was caught. And what was Ted Bundy famous for? Murdering sorority girls. God. And so Black Christmas had a pretty, I think it had about a $600,000 budget, made a couple of million, maybe, like what I don't know if that's adjusted for inflation or not. I'm not sure. I have to look into that, but like it did okay. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't, but it had so many problems, right? It had a lot of false starts, it's Silent Night, Evil Night. No, it's Stranger in the House. Oh, is that Black Christmas? Like, it's just like, what? Like nobody knows if you're coming or going. So it never really, and it never had a sequel. To this day, it's never had an official sequel. And so 2 remakes in 06 and 19, which of course didn't do that well either, and because it never embedded itself into the zeitgeist like Freddy and Jason and Michael. And I mean, it's out of sight, out of mind, right? Out of sight, out of mind. And so, like I've had some people say to me, the first film has, I think we're closing in on 77,000 views. And some people have said, is that, I guess you're kind of unhappy about that. Hasn't done very well. And I'm thinking, are you kidding? 77,000 views on a Black Christmas fan film? Yeah. Views on a Black Christmas fan film, I said, is really good. I said, you have to understand what you're looking at. I said, yes, there are lesser production value Halloween fan films and Freddy fan films and Friday the 13th fan films that have millions of views. Right. But I said, but that's largely because of the IP. That's because it's Freddy, Jason, and Michael. And that's not me saying that you shouldn't work hard and it'll sell itself, but the names often do sell themselves to a certain degree.
Yes.
And so, when it comes to Black Christmas, we're very, very niche. And when you look at the box office totals for all 3 Black Christmas movies, right? Halloween, the original Halloween, became the highest grossing independent movie in motion picture history. Right? $50 million at the box office in 1978. Black Christmas, 600,000. Okay. Like, I mean, we're not even in the same league here. It's not even the same league. And then you look at the 06 remake. I think the 06 remake was like 21 million or something like that worldwide. And then the 19 remake was like 18 or 19. Like, so when you look at all 3 movies, all 3 Black Christmas movies, their box office totals worldwide is about 40 million. That's it. There is, I love the film and it's a cult film, but it's not the juggernaut that maybe some people think it is because of how much I sell it. Right. It's like, it really isn't. So nearly 80,000 views on a Black Christmas fan film, you equate that to ticket sales, right? 80,000 times $15, you're probably looking at about 1.5 million. I mean, I think that's pretty good on a $64,000 budget.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, would we like more? Sure. Could we get more? Absolutely. But I always remind those that are worried about that. I say, what you perceive as a low view count is not a reflection of the quality of the product.
Right.
It's a reflection of the popularity of the IP. That's all it is. You know what I mean? So yeah. And I'm sure, and because it's the 50th year anniversary and It's Me, Billy Chapter 2 is coming out, that's going to get more eyeballs onto the first one as well.
Yep.
And then people are going to watch the second one. And so, yeah, no, we're very happy with how it's done. If I had made a Halloween fan film with the same production value as It's Me, Billy, and it only had 77,000 views, then I'd be a little worried. I'd be like, what the hell is wrong with it?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know, I have more views on me walking around my, you know, house in my Michael Myers mask than I do. Like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's just, people just go crazy, you know, people go crazy. So, yeah. Anyway, sorry to talk your ear off there, but
no,
that was
John. Talk about it.
We love hearing this. Hey, it's gonna break 100,000 probably by the next time by Chapter 2 comes out, though, right?
Well, and that's but that's another thing too, is that Black Christmas is a seasonal horror movie, right? Nobody, and it's not that, again, I speak generally when I say this, but generally speaking, nobody really cares about Black Christmas until it's November 1st. Then people start to care about Black Christmas. And that's when you see all the YouTube channels doing their Black Christmas watch-alongs and their Black Christmas reviews and their Black Christmas think pieces and their Black Christmas revisit. Well, right, exactly, right? But nobody's talking about Black Christmas in March. But are people talking about Freddie, Michael, and Jason in March? All the time.
24/7.
All the time. 24/7. It's 24/7. Black Christmas is holiday. It's niche. It's specific. So, yeah. So when you look at it from that perspective, now we're doing just fine. We're doing just fine.
That's true. And
I am that wacko that does watch it during the year because
I was just going to say if there's anybody who'd watch it every day, it's this guy.
It's really it takes place during Christmas season, obviously, but you could call it a Christmas film, but it's not like it's a Santa Claus killer.
No,
it's really nothing surrounding the holiday that's causing him to do what he's doing. It's just simply, it just happens to be Christmas time that he flipped his shit, climbed into a house, and started killing people.
That's true.
That's why I could watch it during the year. Yeah.
You could remove the season and it would still work. Well, it would be very similar to When a Stranger Calls then, right? It kind of becomes sort of in, in that vein. And so I think it's great that it's Christmas because it's the juxtaposition of the warm, fuzzy holiday, right, and all that kind of stuff, and you know, the carolers, and you know, joy to the world, and everything's so lovely and nice, juxtaposed to this horrific event that's happening in this house, and that's sort of why it works. But you're right, you can remove the holiday, and it's not like the original film is, you know, I mean, there's some Christmassy things in it.
They don't shove it down your throat.
Yeah, no, it's not overkill. It's like our first film. You know, we have a wreath on the door and you see some garland behind the girls on the fireplace and there's a Christmas tree, but we're not shoving it down your throat. You know, it's just kind of there on the peripheral. Oh, yes, it's Christmas time. You know,
you have the cursing Santa that in there. That's about it.
In Black Christmas, yes, they did.
Christmas. Like, so you do have a Santa in there. You have the cursing Santa that's just sit there and, you know, oh, fuck this. And you know, there's Margot Kidder, you know, getting the kids drunk. God bless her.
Yep, that's right. Yes. Rest in peace.
There's a little bit of humor, you know, especially with you know, with the area code fellatio. There's a lot of humor.
Yes.
Yeah.
If Margot Kidder had been alive today, we probably would have wanted to reach out to her as well and see, because that would have, but it depends on how accessible they are, right? You know, some actors later in their careers are more accessible than others, so it depends. But although her character did die, of course, in the first movie.
We were just saying Black Christmas. I think of Bob Clark's other Christmas movie. That movie you can only watch during Christmas.
Yeah, that's Christmas.
That's right. That's right. That's a Christmas Story. So yes.
Well, very diverse, because you figure he comes from Black Christmas, which essentially, if you want to call a Christmas film, to a beloved family Christmas film.
That's
which
right.
is like, which plays, you know, constantly during the Christmas season. I mean, 24 hours of it plays on one channel here in the States. And then on top of that, where does he go after that? Porky's.
He does Porky's, which is a Canadian movie. Yeah, he shot. He liked to shoot here in Canada.
Well, I always liked that the one gym teacher that's telling the other gym teacher about Lassie is the desk, the sergeant in Black Christmas.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I forget
his name's
his name
me right now.
Yes,
Yeah, but he's Mr. Fellatio.
That's right. That's right, Mr. Fellatio. That is correct.
That's how I remember. Mr. Fellatio.
Somebody should do Black Christmas 24/7 like they do Christmas Story here.
Oh, they should.
Yes.
Shit, I'd park my fat ass right in front of that for 24 hours, man.
Well, it's so funny. Like I said, it is known, but it's niche, and it's niche even here, and two, another reason why the character of Billy is really an enigma. And I don't mean an enigma in the same way as a Michael Myers is, but an enigma of, especially in that first movie, you never see him. You see his silhouette, you see his shadow.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a costume. He doesn't have a mask.
Yeah,
he's faceless. Right. So it's not like you can cosplay out, and go to a convention as Billy. I mean, I guess you could, well, you could now, I guess, with our movies, but that was
with his eye.
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's right. That's right. A piece of a door with your eye. That actually would be really funny. That's really good, Brett. I like that. That's good.
Here's Johnny.
Here's Billy.
Here's Billy.
Yeah. But no, it's and then our movie, I know one of the criticisms we got on our first film, and it's fair, I totally understand was some people thought that we showed Billy too much. And we had long discussions about how to approach the character of Billy, because one of the things was, well, we are, again, we're not just doing a fan film that is our own version of the first movie. We're doing a legit sequel. And, the only thing that is, again, is makes it unofficial just because we don't, we don't have the rights to make money from it. But you never know what might happen down the road. But so we knew that, we were taking it seriously as if we were doing the legit, thing that was going to wind up in theaters, which is why we, hired the people we did and shot on the equipment we did and all that kind of stuff. And because we approached it that way, we said, well, how do we move the story forward? I mean, we don't just want to do the same thing over again. And how do you move a character like Billy forward without showing him, right? Because he has to remain largely anonymous. And so what we decided to do in terms of character development for the character of Billy was to show him from a perspective that you haven't seen yet, but you're not getting any information about him. You're not seeing his face, and so in the original film, when he has that tantrum in the attic and he kicks over the rocking chair and everything, it's all through his POV. Well, in our film, when he has his tantrum in the attic, now you're seeing it from more of an objective point of view, but he's still in dimly lit lighting. His hair's really long and that kind of stuff.
His face.
No, not at all. And that carries over into chapter 2 as well. Again, you see him, you see the physicality of his body, but you don't see him. And that really is the only way that we felt was best to move the character forward, because we don't just want to do the same thing over again. You have to move. If you're doing a sequel that's set 50 years later, you have to move that narrative forward. Otherwise, why are you doing it? You know what I mean? There's no point in doing it. And so that's why. So although I understand the criticisms, I understand it. I can defend our creative choice. That doesn't mean everybody's going to agree with it, but at least myself and Bruce, because we had long talks about it, we can defend the creative choice. It wasn't just an arbitrary decision. Nothing is arbitrary when you're dealing with, $140,000. You know what I mean? There's nothing that's arbitrary. When you're shooting a real film, well, that's it. And when you're shooting a real movie, you got to be on your game. You got to be on your point, because you're dealing with professionals that do this every day, all day, and they're looking to you to be on your game. And if you're not on your game, then that word gets around in the industry that you're never on your game, and nobody wants to work with you. And so you got to be on your game, and you got to, it's got to be a well-oiled machine. And so, like I say to aspiring filmmakers and indie, filmmakers that have reached out to me, and I say one of the most important things you can do is have a shot list, be prepared. You have to explain what a shot list sometimes is to people. You don't just go to set and then you figure out how to shoot. So how we No, you have a game plan. You go and you location scout, you storyboard, you have a shot list. And a shot list is just basically how you're going to shoot the movie. So when you get there, okay, this is scene 1, you know what I mean? And this is 3 shots, you know, and remember that, you know, 3 shots might be 5 camera setups, right? You know what I mean? There's a difference between shots and camera setups as well, right? Because sometimes, you know, it takes 15, 20 minutes to move the camera and adjust the lighting and setup, and that's time as well, right? You know what I mean? So, yeah, you have to be on your game when you're working at, you know, this level. You have to be. And so, yeah, we took it very seriously, and we think we did. In terms of Billy, we think that that's really the only way you could. I mean, yes, we could have just done the same thing over again, but then it doesn't really move anything forward. You know what I mean? So I think it's the only thing we could do.
Look at this. We're putting Colin in the mood. Colin's going to watch Black Christmas and Billy one after this.
Amazing. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Yeah, you know, I say to people when Billy 2 comes out, the best way to watch it is to watch the first Billy first. If you have seen the first one, but not in like 3 years, watch it again to get reacquainted with it, and then watch chapter 2, because chapter 2 is very much a continuation of the first movie. So like it picks up immediately where the first one left off. So the first one leaves off of court. Sorry?
No, I was just saying that's really interesting. I was like,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's not like chapter 2 is like 3 years later and it's a new story and we're following Sam. No, that's nothing to do with that. The first film ends in the basement with a big reveal, and chapter 2 begins right back at that moment. Like we go right back there. And so it's like a Halloween 1, Halloween 2 thing, right? In that sense. You can watch Halloween 2 on its own and get sort of its own thing out of it. But with Billy 2, you know, the first film is 38 minutes without credits, 42 with. Part 1. Billy 2 is probably, just thinking about it now, it's probably going to be about maybe 41, 42 minutes without credits. So you put those 2 films together, you have a feature. But what it is it really, what you're seeing is just the last half of the movie, right? So with the first chapter, you have the first act, the setup, you have a bit of the second act, right? And then chapter 2 is really the end of the second act and the third act. So that's why I say to people, if you haven't seen the first one in 3 years and you just watch the second one, you may be a little confused because there might be things you don't remember, because it very much is just basically the last half of the movie. The last half that we couldn't shoot in 2020 because we didn't have the money.
Are there any shots in this film that you did originally that are part of this film from your first shoot from It's Me, Billy Part 1?
There is one shot that is from chapter 1 in chapter 2. Oh, well, there's I'll say there's a few, but I can't tell you how they're utilized because that'd be a bit of a spoiler.
Yeah. I just wasn't sure if you actually filmed anything then, like put it in the can and just said, okay, this is going to be.
I see what you're saying.
Or cutting room into the second, right?
Right. I see. Yes. No, it's more what Brett said. So it's more there was stuff that we just didn't not necessarily that we didn't use. There were just stuff that is from the first movie that we have used again in the second movie. But I can't tell you how, because that would be a bit of a spoiler. Yeah.
And of course, Lee wants to know, Dave, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
Thank you. I agree 100%.
It has Christmas in it.
Move on.
Yeah, move on, folks. Don't want to start that argument. Here it goes.
God, I can
defend my stance, though. That's all I'll say. It's fun.
The funny thing is, watching it when I did, I was loved Die Hard, big fan of it. I don't know. I just never equated it to a Christmas time.
It just has Christmas in it. Like Lethal Weapon has Christmas in it.
Yeah, exactly.
It all depends on what look. I mean, if it's a Christmas movie to you, it's a Christmas movie, right?
Oh, exactly.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's what it is. But for me, when I think of what a Christmas movie is, I think that it's about sort of I think of more of traditional Christmas movies, like how Christmas music is not necessarily something you would, listen to in May. Right. It's Christmas music. And when I think of Christmas movies, I think, not that you can't watch Christmas movies any time of year, but I think, the Santa Claus and, One Magic Christmas and It's a Wonderful Life and very, very, where the morals and the themes are about learning about the spirit of the season, being selfless instead of selfish, little things like, you know what I mean? It's very apparent what a Christmas movie is. And there's many different ways to tell that kind of a story. With Die Hard, it's an action movie set against the backdrop of Christmas, but it would have ended the exact same way had it not been Christmas. That was, it was just the season. John McClane would have, it's not like John McClane would have not have decided to save those people had it been June.
Christmas wasn't a factor in how it ended.
Right, exactly. It was
anything could have been the background. It could have been Hanukkah, for Christ's sake.
It could have been Thanksgiving. It could have been April. And the same sequence of events still would have played out. And so that's kind of why I don't really think of it as a Christmas movie. But at the same time, if it's something that you used to watch with your family at all the time at Christmas, and then it's a Christmas movie. You know what I mean? So, but for me, I don't think it is. And Bruce Willis doesn't think it is either.
You got me now. What is your favorite Christmas movie, Dave? Now I got to know what this is.
Black Christmas obviously is up there. But I really love One Magic Christmas from 1985, I think 86. That's a really good one. I think Ernest Saves Christmas is really hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Love Ernest Saves Christmas. And you can't go wrong with Home Alone. You know what I mean? I mean, that's such and when you look at Home Alone too, like people have often said, well, Home Alone is just set against the backdrop. But I go, but listen, think about the theme and the morals and the lessons that Kevin learned because it was the season.
Yes.
Right. You know what I mean? And the conversations he had with the old man in the church, and he wouldn't have been in that church necessarily had it not been Christmas, because the old man would not have been there to see his granddaughter singing in the choir, so it's very, and then it's Home Alone is very much a Christmas movie, very much a Christmas. So that's what I think when I think it's the spirit of the season that has a large impact on changing somebody's selfishness to selflessness.
That house just got sold again recently here in the city too. So.
Oh, did it?
Good buck, yeah.
Wow.
It was up for sale for quite a bit.
That's really cool. Yeah. John Hughes, he shot all the time in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
Well, as long as they don't really gut it out, like when we were at age 45, and my heart sank when I saw that basically the Doyle house is a shell of itself because they're gutting it. I was like, oh,
I know.
Dave, there's people dumpster diving. I'm sure you heard the whole story. It was great watching these people dumpster.
Hey, I have a piece of the Doyle house right over there. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I'm very thankful that I was able to see the Doyle house. You do have a piece of the Doyle house behind you? You do?
Oh yeah, piece over here.
He's got a piece
right here.
Oh, you got it! Amazing. Oh, I love it. I love it.
We hope that's it.
Damn. You know what? You should put that on eBay.
Oh no.
There's somebody out there selling pieces of the Doyle house, just like the guy that's selling the pieces of the bricks from the Shamrock, Silver Shamrock. Factory that was torn down. There was somebody selling pieces of the Doyle house. They must have went back and
how do you verify it? Right? I mean,
the only thing you can verify is just I made sure I got a piece of the facade, so it's the color. It looks like it came from the front of the house, and you can tell. That's the piece I made sure I got.
I should be butchering this. I could got a piece of mixed Jim from Rocky.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I could go down the street right now, find some sort of piece of wood that looks very similar to what Joe just held up there. And I could just put that on eBay and be like, this is from the Doyle house. And people are like, hey, it's Dave McRae saying it. He's the Halloween guy. He just says, from the Doyle house. This is from the fucking Doyle house.
Pat was hell bent getting that color of the house, though. That's what it was.
That's true.
Well, yeah, it had a piece of the electrical conduit still attached. I come back to the hotel at 8:45. My wife's like, what the hell is that now?
That's
amazing. I go, it's a piece of the Doyle house. She's like, how are you going to get that in your suitcase?
I'm just as nerdy as you guys, because in 2015, which was my first time, not my first time in LA, but my first time doing the Michael Myers rounds. I was there actually for the Voice Arts Awards over at Warner Brothers. And I'm like, well, I'm here. I gotta go to the Halloween stuff. So we went and did the Halloween thing, and I went to the famous hedge, the bush, and I took a little piece off the hedge, stuck it in a
Relief.
book, and it's a little thing, and I'm like, this is really nerdy. This is amazing. And it's in a book somewhere. I don't know what I don't know what book it's in, but I put it in some book, and it's around here somewhere. So
Yeah,
I do have a
doing
piece of
that.
the. I have no doubt. Well, you know what? More people should do it, because the more people that do it will just trim the guy's hedge for him.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just.
He'll be super stoked.
Yeah, he'd be like, "This is great. People are just trimming my hedge for me. This is amazing." But no, look, it happens, right? It happens. I mean, look at the Elm Street house now, and the guy that's just fighting with people. Did you see that? There's a video with the new Elm Street house owner who has the red door has been painted black. That's fine. Look, at the end of the day, this is your house, and you can do whatever the fuck you want with it. If you want to turn the roof from green to brown, knock yourself out. If you want to renovate it, they can do whatever they want. Yes. It is their house. They can do what they want. They've earned it. They've paid for it. They paid a lot of money for it. They do whatever the fuck they want. However, if you are buying a house in West Hollywood, which is where the Elm Street house is on Genesee Avenue, it's literally like a stone's throw away from Sunset Boulevard. Like it's not like you're you're right in the heart of Hollywood.
We walked to it, Pat, didn't we?
Yeah, we walked to it. Yeah,
from the Doyle house. Yes. We did with
it's like a 2-minute walk. And the best thing you can do when you buy a house like that, because the real estate agents have to let the owners know what it is. They have to let them know that. Yeah. And so he knew it, but he's doing this. Look, I don't want to go far as say spite, because he has every right to the privacy that he wants. But when they changed the door from red to black, fine. When he put up that little gate in the front, it's like a white gate now. Yep. You know what? Fine. Hey, I get it, right? Little security signs, I get it. But now what he's done is he's put like potted plants in front of the gate. I don't know if anyways, it was just this one video that I saw. These big potted plants that don't belong there. Like they look like it's clearly like they're like indoor plants. Right? Like he's just put them there in front of the thing. And he was fighting with somebody on camera. You got out of here. And somebody's like, I just want to take a picture of them. You're not talking about. It was something. I'm probably overdoing it. He probably wasn't that angry, but it was something. It was, there was a confrontation. And I sit there and I think, you know what? Like, this is not going to, he's got like 2 big SUVs parked outside in front now. I'm thinking this is not going to deter people from wanting to see it. If somebody wants to see it, they're going to want to see it. And the best thing you can do is what the former owners, because I don't think they own it anymore, of the Strode House have done. And that is play into it, and look, if you don't want anybody coming up on because to be fair, the Strode House owners were,
very accommodating.
You walked up onto their property to get
they had the pumpkin and all the stuff
there, the little sign.
But in order to get that, you had to walk up onto their deck and onto the little veranda and pick it up. And that's you are on their property now. And so it's not just the stoop, right? You have to walk up and put it back and come down. And so I'm not insinuating that the owner of the Elm Street house should just invite people up onto the porch. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying maybe put a sign outside that says, something there. It looks really nice. It's classy. Yes, this is the Elm Street house. Welcome. Please refrain from coming on, just stand on the, whatever the case is.
Make it short.
Make it short. Just buy into it a little bit. Most people will be respectful. Will say, hey, no problem. There's a gate there now. I'm not going to come up, because most people are probably, like me. When I went up there, I stood in front. I didn't walk up. I just took a photo. I did the Freddie laugh in front of the house, which was hilarious. This was long before he owned it, though. But most people are good, right? Most people are just excited to be standing there, right? And they're just going to take a quick photo. Maybe they're going to stand there and go, wow, this is really cool, for 10 minutes or whatever. And then they're gone. They're gone, right? Most people are not going to, launch a keg party on your front lawn. That's not what people want to do. And that's why I think, listen, I get the gate. I get the change of the door. Get rid of the potted plants, buddy. You know what I mean? Get rid. Come on. It just looks so stupid. You know what I mean? Now you're inviting people to go, around
Make
the
it even
potted
worse,
plant.
where they could just stand.
Dave's showing up with his Dylan's new attire.
That's that's right. That's right. But now you're inviting people to now get the telephoto lenses out, and they're all like, just you know what I mean. The gate. I get the gate. Because sometimes you get some overzealous fans that are like, maybe I'll just kind of walk up here a little bit. So no, hang on, stay on the fucking sidewalk. You know what I mean? I totally get the gate. I think that's absolutely appropriate. Changing the door. Fine. Maybe he's just not a fan of red. I don't know. But putting all these potted plants in front of it just looks so silly. So whoever you are, stop that. You knew the house you were buying. What do you expect? It's not going to stop you. There will always be people driving by. Always. So you might as well just learn to live with it. You know what I mean?
And hopefully the new owners of the Strode house will be
just
like
the last
previous ones, but it's their
hopefully.
choice. So we'll see what they do.
We'll see what happens.
So are you going to make a trip to H50?
I hope so.
I think you need.
I hope so. Yep. I would love to. It's man.
Sean's saying this is it. So
H50.
That'll be 4 years. 4 years is a long time.
It's 4 years. Who knows what's going to happen in the franchise between now and then? But yes, I would absolutely love to go to H50. I mean, it's the 50th anniversary, and hopefully there'll still be some of the older folks that will be with us still. Obviously, we just lost Charles Cyphers, but yeah, I'd like to go, and I assume it'll be held at the Pasadena Convention Center again. But I'd like to go. Yeah, H50, 2028. That'd be a big one.
We had a blast. It was a lot of fun. My first time going. Brett's been there a few times. It was Joe and my first time out there, and it was fun. Great. It was such nice people. It wasn't even so much the convention; it was just all the people.
Right.
Just meeting people out there, hanging out with people. We spent, like, truth be told, like
meeting people from the channel.
Met people from our channel. We hung out with Frank and Darren pretty much the entire week.
With Frank and Darren.
A lot of drunken shenanigans. Yeah,
nice. late night on Sunset Boulevard.
Oh yeah, that first night, that was a doozy.
Oh god, Darren was a riot, man. Darren was a riot.
Yes,
Darren is a riot. Darren's fantastic. Both Frank and Darren, they're just awesome.
Yeah, great. Yeah. All right, now, truth be told, we just wanted to ask you. We know your love for Halloween 5, and
love it. It's amazing.
I had to throw it out there. That's a guilty pleasure for Brett and I. That's like a guilty pleasure that you just put on.
Nothing
and
wrong
it's
with
like comfort food, and you can just sort of laugh at it.
It's like pizza and ice cream. Totally get it.
Speaking kind of what we were just talking about with the house. Did you see what the owners did to the Myers house? They turned it into like a rainbow house. It's like 12 different colors.
The Myers house is?
The Myers house from H5.
The Gothic mansion.
Oh, from H5. Oh, I was like, they turned the Myers house in Pasadena.
The Myers house, the H5 Myers house. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. No, yes, I have seen that. Yes, because it was for sale not that long ago, right? It was up for sale too a year or two ago, I think.
It was, and the gentleman that has the Myers house in North Carolina just did a screening. The owners let him do a screening just outside of the house.
Yeah, you got to do the screening of. I think they did Halloween 5 screening. Then you got to sleep in the house.
Yes, I forget what's his name now. The owner, the owner of the Myers house in Carolina.
I
always forget, but he did.
I always forget his name.
Did a hell of a job.
Kenny. Yes, he'll be in Toronto actually in November doing a Black Christmas showing, not at the house. Maybe he was turned away. I'm sure. But at the police station where they shot the police scenes. They're going to be inside. Yeah, they're going to be inside doing a screening there, and Lynn will be there signing, and she'll probably have some snow globes. I'm sure. But yeah, that's happening in November, I think. So I think what he does is really, really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, look that up. He's done stuff for The Dark Knight here in Chicago. A lot of the scenes where Heath Ledger shot, they've done that here.
Cool.
A few of them.
That's really cool. I think that's such a really cool idea.
Yeah.
Comfort food? You mean like Cookie Woman?
What? A big woman? What?
Dale's gas station.
Dale's gas station. In Maine.
That's it. A big woman. Yeah.
I just love how drunk he is. What do they sell there?
Yeah. Yeah. He's that is the most. Well, that's. I mean, he's a wild one in that one. Dr. Loomis. He's and then he's calm again in part 6. It was Daniel Harris
he was ailing. He was.
Yeah,
able
he
to,
said. He says the only thing I really remember is the bourbon on his breath. That's what Daniel Harris said. Yeah, it's like, geez.
Lee loves your Freddy. The Freddy did Dylan's New Nightmare.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed my take on the Dream Demon.
Did anything come of that? Where he's thinking about doing anything else? Doing
yeah. So I know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I know that Cecil Laird is deep in development on Dylan's New Nightmare 2. There's a lot of wheels that are turning with that, a lot of possibilities, a lot of different ways it could go. I mean, Dylan's New Nightmare was so great for Cecil because Sarah Risher, who was one of the main producers on the Elm Street franchise, had reached out. Sorry, no, her son, who owns it's a streaming platform called, I think it's called Dark Matter or something. They play horror stuff. It's like a streaming thing. I think he owns that. He does a bunch of stuff, but he's one of the main guys there. And anyways, he reached out, having seen it, and said that my mom watched it, Dylan's New Nightmare, thought it was fantastic. So this is one of the main producers of the original Elm Street franchise. And nice. Yeah, and she's retired now, but that was such a glowing endorsement. And so Dylan's New Nightmare, I don't know if it's still on there or not, but it was playing on the Dark Matter streaming service. And they had figured out a way to make it happen, obviously, because it has to be not for profit as well. But so that was really cool to make that connection. And I know that, you know, Cecil has he would like to do Dylan's New Nightmare 2, which would, and I'm just keeping this sort of surface level, not to give anything away that I don't think he would want. But this isn't spoilery. He would like to do it, but as a feature, because, you know, because of how long it takes to do films at this level and how they're doing my makeup and everything and things like that. You know, because now, I mean, I'd probably have to get my head cast again, unless they still have my mold, I'm not sure. But the prosthetics that they made for part 1 have all been used up. So, you know, I'd have to get it, you know, molded and all that, you know, and that costs a lot of money. It's a lot of money to get that done and your head cast and everything, because it fits to you, right? When they put the makeup on, it's made for specifically you, not for anybody else. Very much like what they did with Robert Englund back in the 80s. So, not very much, exactly what they did with Robert Englund back in the 80s. So I know he, rather than go through that process with more short films, he's like, I'm just going to write, you know, what I would have done, very much kind of like what Vincent DeSanti did with the Never Hike Alone franchise, because he was going to do Never Hike Alone, which he did, and then he was going to have like Never Hike Again, The Final Hike. He was going to have like a bunch of short films, Never Hike in the Snow, which was short, but then he was like, it takes too much time. You know, I want to, as a filmmaker, he's like, I want to move on to other things, original things as well, and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to spend 10 years of my life in this, right? It's done what it's needed to do, showcase what we can do, you know, as filmmakers. But I want to move on. And so Cecil was feeling the same way. It's like, I don't want to spend the next 5-6 years of my life doing 3 or 4 different, you know, like I want to just kind of do this all at once. So his goal, I believe, is to do a feature, to do part 2, but as a feature and wrap up the whole thing in that. Wow. But of course, that's going to cost a lot of money. And when you're doing a Nightmare on Elm Street, when you're doing an Elm Street, again, at this level, you know, and very much like how the first movies are in this kind of thing, they tend to be almost like proof of concepts, right? So you showcase what you can do and the direction you're heading. And then if the fans really love it and they want to see more, hopefully they come out and they support you again and you raise more money. But to just make me as Freddy is thousands of dollars, you know? So, I mean, and then if you want to have effects and bigger dream sequences and, you know, and it's a longer film, it's a feature length film, right? And then you got to get more actors on board and more, you know, it's a real film, you know, so again, these are fan films because we don't own the IP, but we take them just as seriously as we would as if we were shooting anything that was not connected to a current IP. So yeah, so I know that's what he's working on. I do have one of the drafts of the script. which I started looking through, and it's, I like what I'm seeing. And I know that Miko has been looking at it as well. I think he is excited to sort of finish it off. But yeah, so that's all I kind of, and then if they can't make the feature, then what he would probably do is do his best to take all of that and kind of cut it down into a shorter film. But yeah, that's what I know. He's currently working on it right now. And there's certain people that I think he would, certain maybe alum that he would like to get on board, but that's something where my lips are sealed, and so there's a lot of wheels that are turning and things like that. So
yeah, I was curious because caught a lot of traction. It was well received. It was great.
Yes.
And then I was like, wow, I figured something else would have came of it, but that's, I guess, obviously everything's in the background, and everybody will find out at the right time.
If the money was already there, then that's the thing, right? When you're an indie filmmaker, and again, for those that may not know who are watching, independent filmmaker just simply means you're making movies. An indie film is just essentially a movie that is made outside of the studio system. So you're not connected to the big studio system, right? But there's a lot of indie films that will play at festivals that the studios will see and be like, oh, that's fucking good. I think we can make money from that, right? And because their reps go to these festivals all the time, right?
It's like scouts. It's like they're scouting people.
That's right. And if they see a movie, it's like, that's a really good movie. I think we could use that. Lots of indie films come though. I mean, the original Halloween was an indie film, and so there's a lot of movies that are made outside of the studio system. And so the great thing about making an indie film, especially at this level where you are sort of, you're also the studio, so to speak, right? You have full creative control, and that's amazing. The not bad part, the tough part about being an indie filmmaker is always money. It's always we got to raise money. So maybe we crowdfund, maybe we look for film grants through programs. Maybe we try to connect with an independent production company, and they can source this and we can get this, and and get other producers on board. Money is the biggest obstacle for indie filmmakers. When you work on the studio level, depending on your seniority, right? If you're brand new, the great thing is that the money's already there. Yeah, that's amazing. But you don't necessarily have the full creative control that you would have on an independent production, because now you have a studio that is curious on what you're doing and looking in, checking in, and rightly so. I mean, I completely understand that. But so there's pros and cons to both. But if Blumhouse or A24 was like, Dave McRae, I like that guy, I think we should, I'd be like, well, no, I don't think so. I think I'm just going to, no, of course I'm going to be, that's a phone call I'm going to take, right? That's a phone call I'm going to take. Of course, that's a phone call I'm going to take. But it's, if that's why it's just been a bit quiet, is because you gotta write the script. You gotta make sure it's good. And you gotta, what I mean? And you gotta figure out the money thing. And he's gonna have to launch another campaign and gotta build all that. And so it's Cecil, I'm sure, will announce an official. I anticipate there'll be an official Dylan's New Nightmare 2 announced probably next year. I don't know when. That's just me speculating just on where he is in the development process. But I don't speak for him, so I don't know.
And people don't understand, especially with like something like that, or even with Vincent DeSantis films. It's just like, hey, embrace them, because the big studios are not giving you anything anyway.
That's right.
It's kind of like what Damien Leone's did with Terrifier, right? Like, thank God the studios. I'm sure they've been hounding him.
Oh, they
get their stuff.
Oh yeah,
he wants to keep it. Yeah, he wants to keep it at his level.
They have, and listen, I mean, with Damien Leone, something like that.
I think I had it.
It's one or the other. He's, again, with Art the Clown. I mean, that's his creation. He owns that IP, so that's a bit different. Obviously, we don't own the IPs that we're working with. So there's only so far we can take ours. With Damien, it's all his, which is great. And so, but very similar. I mean, the first film, I think the first film was 40,000 maybe. The second Terrifier, I think, was about 250,000, all crowdfunded, right? And then the third film, I think, is a couple of million, if I'm not mistaken, which is great. But he had said that he had after the success of Terrifier 2, and regardless of your thoughts on it, whether you think it's a good movie or not, is irrelevant to the I'll call it it's a big success in terms of its relative nature to its budget. It's a minor success in its relative total nature to the rest of everything else. But it was a $250,000 movie and it made like $15 million. So, I mean, that is huge. And the studio saw that and were like, well, this is interesting. And they can see the online buzz. Art definitely has a cult following. And there's a lot of and the studio saw that. I don't know what studio specifically talked to Damien. I know that the word on the street is that, a lot of them reached out. So I'm sure, whether it was your A24s or your Blumhouses or your Universals, who knows, right? A lot of them reached out but they said, we want to work with you. I think there was an article actually in Film Magazine not too long ago where he had said that they were looking to reboot Art is what they wanted to do. This is terrific as a proof of concept. This is amazing. Why don't we reboot Art? We'll give you a lot more money. We can reboot Art. The catch is, though, we have to make it rated R.
Violence.
Because they wanted to make it appeal to a more of a general audience, yes, I understand that. And Damien did the right thing. He said, no, he did the right thing because he knew that is the shtick. I mean, that is, and I don't say this as a negative, but that is the gimmick. That is the shtick of the Terrifier films. People call them slasher movies.
What could he do next?
Right.
Exactly. What's going to do next?
Exactly. I call them splatter films, and I say that with affection. I don't say that as in like no, that is what it is. I mean, yes, again, maybe it's a bit semantics, but at the end of the day, Terrifier to me, especially the first film. I mean, now he's beginning to add a bit more story and character to it, but especially that first film, I'm like, this is something you would have seen right along Last House on the Left, in the 70s or so. I mean, this is a 70s splatter film. This is not so that's what they are. At the end of the day, the reason why people go to see Terrifier is because you want to see. The reason why you watch Terrifier 2 is because you want to see what's going to outdo the hacksaw scene. The reason why you're going to see part 3 is because what's going to outdo the bedroom scene. And you hope that there's a story in there somewhere. But at the end of the day, that is the shtick. That is why he turned the studios down. Because if that wasn't the shtick, Damien Leone would be rebooting Art the Clown with a $10 million budget and a much wider, release. And he didn't do that because he knew why people go to see Art the Clown. And I don't say that as like a negative. Some idiots have reached out to me on social media, try and tagged Damien Leone in it, saying this guy hates Art the Clown. This guy, I'm like, no, I'm calling. Damien Leone would probably be like, yeah, exactly. That is what it is. I mean, for good sake,
calling out how you see it. It's
that is what it is, and that's its strength. That's its strength. That's why he turned the studios down. Now, is it my kind of horror movie? No. I will watch Terrifier 3 just as I watch Terrifier 2. Generally speaking, they're not my kind of horror movies, but at the end of the day, there's room for everybody at the table, right? And there's somebody's kind. I recognize the popularity. I understand why he's so popular right now. And I'm very curious to see how Terrifier does, how part 3 does, because there are people that, say he's an icon. I'm like, yeah, he's popular. I said, I think he's still got a ways to go to be at the level of a Freddy, a Jason, or a Michael. I said, but Terrifier 3 may be it. I mean, he's knocking on the pop culture door, and you're starting to see him, everywhere. But we'll see. It's a different era. But yeah, so I think, look, I mean, although it's not my kind of horror, you got to respect the hustle. and he's absolutely found something that a lot of fans love. And there's no doubt in my mind, and they know this, that Terrifier 3 is going to smoke Terrifier 2 at the box office, because it's going to be released in far more theaters. I wouldn't be surprised if Terrifier 3 makes 35-40 million at the box office. Not necessarily opening weekend, but I just mean in its total run.
Weeks.
It wouldn't surprise me if it did that. And I think it's, again, not my kind, but you have to respect the hustle, but that's what it is. That's why people are going, is to see how much they can, hold in their puke, right? I mean, and apparently this is the most bloodiest, goriest. Apparently the first 10 minutes are the most bloodiest, goriest it's ever been. So
yeah, and brilliant, right?
Even if he's throwing up, supposedly filming it, right?
Plus,
it's going to be a
Christmas movie. Exactly. I was about to say he used the theme of Christmas around it, so people are going to be like, "Oh, great, a Christmas horror movie." So he's going to get those people going, and then you're going to get the people like us that are going to go basically say, "All right, now what's he going to do? Let's go watch it."
That's it.
So
that's it. Yeah,
so it's going to do a lot better.
I had a few people ask me if I'm going to move the release date of Billy 2, and I said, no. I said, we're not in direct competition. I said, we're not a theatrically released film. So I said, we're not in competition at all with Terrifier 3. And listen, Art the Clown is going to be the talk of the weekend. I mean, we're probably going to have a difficult time even getting noticed, online, because it's so, I mean, everybody's going to be crazy, and rightly so. I totally understand that. We are not a theatrically released film, but our movie's for free and it's online, and there's no reason why you can't watch Art the Clown, then come home and watch It's Me, Billy 2. I mean, there's no reason why you can't watch both that weekend. And anybody who's going to watch Billy 2 will watch it. Anybody who's not going to watch it won't watch it anyway. So I think it's just, we're not in direct competition. I don't know why they moved it. I guess they want to get the Halloween audience, which makes sense. We're just, again, ours is October 11th because of the release, the anniversary date, and we want to stick with that. But it's good though too, because we'll get the Halloween crowd that will tune in to Billy, and then when Christmas rolls around again, people will start watching it again. So even though we're not making money at the box office, the strategy of why we're releasing it when we are is still the same.
Yeah, Colin's saying in Ireland they're showing Terrifier 1 and 2 in the theater as a double feature next month.
There you go.
That's a lot of blood and guts. That's a
lot of blood and guts.
That's about 4 hours of blood and guts.
I want to kind of give this little insight, because I find short films to be really entertaining for the simple fact that they hold my attention span for that short amount of time. 45 minute time, that's perfect for me and my busy lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like, you go down and sit there and watch Terrifier 2, you're gonna be there for about 3 hours. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I got stuff to do.
That's right. It was like 2.5 hours, wasn't it?
Has he set the runtime for this one yet?
Yeah, he said
I think it's over 2 hours.
It's another one that's over 2 hours.
Is it over 2 hours?
I think so.
So I mean, so for me, I was like, when it comes to It's Me, Billy, Never Hike Alone, the Halloween stocks and all that stuff, like, I love the fact that you get a real, bang for your buck. It packs a punch in a short amount of time, because you can fit in 2 or 3 or 4 of those in the same amount of time as you could a regular movie nowadays. So for me, that's just a selling point for me in these fan films, if you will, because you can tell they're made with a lot of love and creativity, and there's a lot of mind melding. Everybody's putting everything they got into this short amount of production. So I love it. I really am a big fan. So it's pretty cool. I just wanted to throw that out there. For sure. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's short films are underrated, in a lot of ways, and that's how a lot of indie filmmakers begin as well as make. I mean, Saw was a short film. James Wan and Lee Winnell made a, 10 minutes long, 15 minutes long, something like that. It's online. If you YouTube Saw short film, that was the film that they made. That was the proof of concept for Saw. And then the rest is history. I mean, James Wan is, one of the names in horror right now. I mean, The Conjuring and Insidious and, Malignant. Then you got Lee Winnell, who's doing, The Invisible Man, and now Wolfman. And I mean, and they began with a short film called Saw. That was, it was essentially, a proof of concept. So short films are great. And yeah, I mean, obviously depending on your your access to resources. I mean, obviously, because myself and Bruce work in the entertainment industry here in Toronto, it was never lost on us that we have access to connections and the resources at a professional level. And so not every indie filmmaker does. There's lots of filmmakers that don't. They have to shoot on their phones, or they have to use their friends as their actors, whatever the case is. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? You got to do what you got to do. And so, Vincent DeSanti, he works in the business, you know what I mean? And so he has the connections and the access to the resources and the people involved. And so, there's when it comes to fan films, there's almost different sort of tiers and levels, and we understand that. But anybody who's passionate about making movies and wants to make a movie, go out and do it. You can make, you don't have to be shooting on cinematic grade cameras, which obviously is what we did, but you don't have to do that to make a great little short film. If you know, lighting and how to craft your image and craft your shots and angles, and you can make a great little short film on your fucking iPhone. Is it going to look like it belongs in the theater? Not necessarily, but it's going to look really good because you understand how to light scenes and and how to craft your shots, how to craft the image, how to tell a story through filmmaking. And rather than just walking around going like this, you know what I mean? Like, where are you going to place your camera? What's the lighting going to be? And sometimes that can take an hour to set up one shot, but it's worth it, and so, but yeah, no, short films are great. I watched a couple not too long ago that I thought were really good. I mean, Smile, the original Smile was a short film.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I like short films because I'm older than these guys. I'm 50. I'll be 53 in February. So the shorter the film, the less chances I have to get up and piss. And this part of the film. And you guys are all laughing, but you're all going to be there. I'll take my word for it. When my wife and I went to see Beetlejuice. So we sat down. I'm like, "Oh, you want something to eat, something to drink? I'll go to the concession to get something." She's like, "Yeah, give me Twizzlers or whatever." I'm like, "You want a drink?" So then I'm like, "Wait a second. Let me look at the runtime. 2 hours. All right, scratch the drink. What do you want?"
Well, that's why you just need to put a cup in your pants. A cup in your pants.
Yeah, seriously, you just have to do.
Yeah. Those catheters.
It really is. You think about it. I'm like, I'll go to a film or a concert, and I'm like, oh god. They're like, "What do you want something to drink?" I'm like, "No,
just pee. Just pee down your leg. Just do it.
Just let it run. Just like dumb it down.
They didn't get your money, Pat.
Just do it. Just do it.
Money.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, but
it's funny.
But things that aren't too long, unless it's got so much in it. Like I could use that as an example. Beetlejuice. Not sure if you saw it or not. We saw it, but it did keep your interest. Even it was just under 2 hours,
right?
But there was so much packed into it that it flew by.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you have something like Terrifier 2, I love it, but there are parts where it does drag a little bit too long. You're like, this is a little bit too long. You could have trimmed it back a little bit.
Yeah, that can happen with indie films sometimes because in a lot of cases, the editor is also the director and the producer and the writer, and all that. And so with indie films, sometimes it depends on the film. Sometimes there may be some pacing issues in some indie films at times, maybe just because, there isn't a objective set of eyes looking at it, reviewing it or editing it. Spielberg doesn't edit his own movies. I mean, they have editors that do this day in and day out for a living that know how. Now he will approve it. He will come in and because he's a storyteller and he can get a sense, that's too long. I know you cut it like this, but I actually wanted a bit long. Obviously you come in and you noodle it and you work with the editor. And if you work with the same editor over the course of your career, the editor just knows how you like shit. Right. And so in a lot of cases that can help as well when you work with the same editor or with the same people. I mean, but yes, sometimes that can, I've only seen Terrifier 2 once. And it was during a watch along on my channel. So I haven't actually just watched it. So I didn't notice the pacing issues. I did notice that it was long, that it was 2.5 hours or whatever it was. I did notice that. But I wasn't totally dialed in because, you're talking to the viewers and you're chatting and, so I
was there watching it with you with Tony.
That's right. It was an episode of Two Dudes. That's right. And So sometimes that can happen. I mean, on the Billy films, I mean, I'm the co-director, co-writer, co-producer. I'm also the sound designer, the sound mixer, as well. I designed and mixed all of the sound, on the film, because I can do it. I have a home studio here, and I've worked with sound my whole life, and I can do it. Now, if we had more money, I would rather take it to a post-production house in Toronto, for which I know many, and have it all down there with a sound engineer who does this day in and day out on the big shows that you see on Netflix. But because I've worked with sound my whole life, I'm good enough to be able to know what I'm doing and get the job done on an indie film. Mm-hmm. And so the sound was one of the biggest compliments we got on the first film, which was great. And I know how to do it, but if we had more money, it's like, I don't want to do it. I would rather hand that off to a professional sound engineer, right? Who's got way more tools at his disposal than I do, and can really go to town and really fine tune stuff and whatever. But I'm very proud of the work that I've done on chapter 1 in terms of the sound. And I'm very proud of the work that I've done here with part 2 as well, because I've worked with sound my whole life, being a voice actor and editing all sorts of stuff and films and commercials and all that. And so I know what to do. But when you're an indie filmmaker, sometimes you're like, well, I don't have the money to spend, thousands of dollars on a post-production facility. So I know what to do. I'm going to fucking do it. And it might take a bit longer, but it's going to save me money, right? It's going to get done. It's going to save me money. So maybe it's going to take me longer, but at least I'm going to get there. And sometimes that's what you got to do, and so, yeah, you're, as an indie filmmaker, you're wearing many hats.
And I give you all the credit in the world, because I love film. We're big film fans. That's why we do this podcast. Primarily horror, but we love pretty much everything. Yeah. But I give you all the credit in the world, because I just see what goes behind all that. And first of all, I don't have the time. And as my wife will tell you, you don't have the patience, because it's just, you have to be extremely patient. And I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool to do something, like a little skit, like a Halloween thing where we, of course, because we're big Halloween fans, or anything to do. But it's just, it's one of those things where, you have a channel, like on this channel here, I'll put out videos where I just put a video out on Friday, because I'm in northeastern Pennsylvania, but only about 50 minutes away is Blairstown and Hope, New Jersey, where they filmed the first Friday the 13th. So I went there on Friday the 13th. They always have like a little event, and I filmed everything. And then I came home. I'm like, now I got to upload all this, and then you got to sit there and get out the editing stuff. And then next thing you know, you just wasted 2 hours of your life.
Well, it's not a waste.
Well, according to my wife, it is.
It's no. Well, okay, maybe maybe to your wife it is, but
you're supposed to be doing this, but you're wasting your time down in your lair.
If I didn't do what I did, if I didn't do what I do for a living, which is, again, I'm a voice actor, so I'm self-employed, and it's my full-time job. So I do most of my work from home, and so I do go into the city to record voiceovers as well, but I do a lot of voiceover work from home here, because I'm set up to do so, which is great. But if I didn't do that, if I had a 9-to-5 job that I was working every day, no matter, I was still working at an office or something like that, I couldn't be able to do this. Like, I wouldn't be able to mix the audio. I'd have to, or it would just take a lot longer. It would just take a lot longer, or we would just have to raise the money to send it off to a post-production facility. And because you're working 9 to 5, and then you come home and you're going to spend 5 hours more. It's great because I can get up in the morning, I can check my emails, I can see if I have any emails from my agents, and sometimes I will. And then I can do whatever I need to do here. And then I can slip into working on the sound, right? You know what I mean? It is my day. It is what, even though I'm not getting paid for it, it is what I'm doing, because I'm home and I'm able to do it. And so that's not lost on me. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to do that, because if I worked 9 to 5, there's just no way that we'd be ready right now.
Yeah, editing just takes so long. It's, like I said, not necessarily wasted time. Well, my wife always says you're wasting time. It's just, next thing you know, I'm like, oh my God, just 2 hours just passed by, and you're just like, and and it's like a 7-minute thing you put together, but you trim this, you add this, you do all this, which, you know, I don't have any training in that stuff. I just bought a program and said, all right, let me fuck around with this shit and see how it works out.
You have to love it. You have to have a passion for it.
I do. I enjoy it, and I wish I had more time. But sometimes, like when you want to get it out quickly, you're like, oh god, now I got to 2 hours. It's done to get it. I do most of my stuff after hours because my wife goes to bed early. But the dogs, and I can just come down here and I can get into my madness in the Halloween room, and I can just do what I got to do. And so it's usually late at night. But then 4:30 in the morning rolls around. I have to get up and go to work.
Yeah, it can be tricky. I mean. Yeah, it's a lot of time, and whether it's editing picture or editing sound, it's monotonous, tedious work. You have to be okay with hearing the same thing over and over and over again as you dial in, and you're looking for a very specific thing, and you're hearing the same dialogue over and over again as you're going through, or the same beat, the same music, the same sound. I can spend hours on just a small section of audio trying to get it right, or trying to, there's a certain emotional beat that I'm looking for, to time with the audio and the picture, whatever it is. And so, but I love doing it. Bruce is like, you can take care of the sound. I am not doing it. He's just like, yeah. So no, I love doing it. It's tedious and it's long, but I love the fact that when it's all done, we presented cinematic quality product, and it makes it worth it.
Cool. Bronson, subscribe to everybody's channels. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Nice.
Could you see yourself, Dave, ever, like, let's say this really hit filmmaking? Would you always stick with voice acting since that's what you've been doing? That's been your income? Would you always?
I would. Well, yes, I would like to continue. Again, I mean, I've worked 23 years in the entertainment business, and most of that is as a professional voice actor. I did go to film school in the late 90s. I didn't graduate though. I left early because I just couldn't keep up with a lot of the stuff they were doing. Obviously people do graduate from the program, but for whatever reason, there was so many like elective classes. I was like, oh my God. But it was ironic because then a few years later, there was a student of that same program who reached out to me to interview me for his thesis, and in the voice acting section. I'm like, that's hilarious. And I told him, I was straight up like, I'm not a graduate. I actually dropped out. And he's like, oh, that's okay. I'm like, okay, well, your professor may tell you that. I don't know. But anyway, so and then so I've been full-time as a voice actor since 2006. And I've worked and continue to work at the highest levels in professional voiceover, and I love it. I enjoy it. And you've probably heard my voice many times, but just didn't know it, obviously, because you wouldn't have seen my face. So I wouldn't want to give that up, but I also know that movies and film is my first passion. It always has been. And so the opportunity to, move that part of my career in the entertainment industry further and ahead is something that I would absolutely love to do. I mean, that is part of the reason why we did the Billy films and why we chose to do them on a professional level. I mean, we're not just farting around in our backyard. We chose to do this in that way to be able to showcase what we can do as filmmakers on a low budget. I mean, the first Billy did open a door for us with a studio that they were very impressed. They looked at the first film and they said, you shot this for $64,000? This looks like it was shot for $6 million. They were very impressed with sort of, again, our filmmaking abilities and being able to present something of such high quality and such a low budget. And that door is still open. We left it open because we wanted to come back and finish the story. And hopefully Billy 2 will open more doors. Maybe it will. But that's why we sort of were doing that, is on the level we're doing, is to be able to, yes, do something special for Black Christmas. And we're Canadian filmmakers from Toronto, and who better to do it than Canadian filmmakers from Toronto for a Canadian movie that was shot in Toronto. And so, yes, that is all true, but obviously it's for our portfolios as well. And to be able to showcase what what we can do. And so if it does open, we would love that, and be able to kind of say, hey, look what these guys can do. Between both movies, I think Canadian dollars, I think it's about $220,000 between, the two films. And so to be able to present something and say, look what we can do with this, hopefully that happens. Now, I mean, I'm not an idiot. I'm not thinking that we put that out there and all of a sudden Jason Blum's on the phone.
Right.
I'm just simply saying that there's a journey that can take place, right? And my goal in filmmaking next, really, my goal is the next job that I do, I want to get paid. And that sort of, I feel that I've learned a lot, having worked on the two films now, having that experience, I feel I'm ready to sort of start moving in that direction, which is original IP now. And whether that's somebody else's project, or if it's my own, or whatever the case is, being able to sort of, work on something. Maybe it's an episode of TV, maybe it's an episode of some online streaming show or something. I don't know, but work on something that, and I don't mean like, Squid Game. I don't mean that.
Oh no.
I just mean like, something that, like, something, maybe it's a minor show on a smaller stream, whatever it is, or maybe it's a little short indie film, but again, at the professional level. I'm not interested in directing somebody's fan film, or something like that. I need to move myself. I've worked on these two films now, and I need to continue. I need to continue working at that level.
Gotcha.
So hopefully I will, and hopefully I can. While I'm shooting a movie, I probably can't do the voice work, but when the movie's done, hopefully I can still continue to do that.
Nice.
Now, what was the other film? I remember you filmed a Halloween film. It was out in California, wasn't it?
I filmed a Halloween film in California.
Was it you that did the Halloween film a couple of years ago, like a fan film that you did?
Oh, yes. I did do, yes, I did. Yes. Yeah. That was 2015, 2016.
Yeah, a while ago. Yeah.
That was a long time ago. Yeah. That was, again, that was not on a, it was just me. Okay. Maybe I'm being a little hard on myself. It was a step up from farting around in your living room, cosplaying and showing off the mask, but it's many notches below, It's Me, Billy.
Right. But it looked good. It was done well.
Yeah, well, I shot on the Canon Mark D2, and so it was a full frame 35 millimeter sensor. I believe that's 35 millimeters sensor. So, and obviously I know how to shoot, and how to light and craft and things like that. And yeah, no, it looked pretty good. Like it did. I admit it did. It's not on my channel anymore because the audio got all out of sync. I don't know
really?
what happened.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. And I had to, it was so bad. Like, it wasn't like a little bit out of sync. It was like 50 seconds out of sync. Like you're watching a scene and the dialogue's from a movie that's like a minute ago, but I don't know what happened. And it just, not the whole movie, I would say like the first 5 minutes is fine. And then the next half hour is like just something happened. I don't know what it did. So I'm a perfectionist, and rather than have it up there like that, and it was closing in on 500,000 views. And so, and that goes to show you my point from earlier, right? So the Michael Myers, 500,000 views, And so, but I'm a perfectionist, and I'm like, I can't, like, you can't watch it. And there were some people like, no, I don't mind. I'm like, what do you mean you don't mind? I said, it's not a little bit off. It's a minute off. You're watching a scene and the dialogue's from like a minute ago. Like, how can you, like, I'm sorry.
It's not like Godzilla, like, where it's like, damn you.
No, it's not like a kung fu movie. No, it's completely awful. It was just, and again, I'm a perfectionist, and so I removed it from YouTube. I just felt that it was the best thing to do. I lost 500,000 views on my channel, but I felt it was the right thing to do, and just because of that. So,
Well, if it makes you feel better, I didn't finish film school. I went to Columbia College too, so I did.
I went on to Lee's had nothing. These are
okay, all right. Well, not finishing film schools unite.
Yes.
Well, and it was, I think I had watched it, and then I think you posted some pictures. I forget what the time frame was between that and when you went to, I guess, the Voice Arts Awards, and the woman who was in the film was your girlfriend, correct?
Correct.
Because I saw, I'm like, well, wasn't that the one that was in the film? From
That's
a couple years
correct.
ago?
Yes, that is correct. Yes, that's right.
Is she an actress?
No, not at all.
She did good.
Not at all. Yeah, it was all right. It was all right. It was pretty good. It was, it was all right. Yeah.
It was fine. She did very well.
Yeah, no, it was fine. No, it was good. It was look, it was a lot of fun to shoot. And I think it was just again, I wanted to take advantage of being at those locations. And I think I was, if not the first, I was one of the first Halloween fan films to actually shoot in the actual locations, at the Hedge, at the Myers house, and incorporate it into a fan film. Now there's a ton of fan films that have done it, but at that time in 2015, I think I was one of the first, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a good time. Yeah, no, it was a good time. But yeah, no, that the whole film just fell out of, sync of everything. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that. That's weird.
Yeah,
it is. See what's going to chat here. Yeah, everybody's hanging out in the chat, just chatting away.
I remember first getting into watching your content when you went to TIFF to see Halloween 2018. So that's really kind of where I caught on to your channel and subscribed to you. So I'm thinking that's probably where a lot of people probably joined.
Oh, I think so.
Right
Look,
time.
Yes, the lead up to Halloween 2018 was huge. I mean, it was absolutely huge. There was so much hype around it, and I was very fortunate to be able to attend the world premiere here in Toronto at TIFF, and it was great. It was electric. It was so much fun, so much fun. It'd be great to experience that again with the Halloween franchise. Something that's really exciting that comes down the pipe that gets us all really excited. You know what I mean? Something that's just like, maybe it'll happen.
They did it at age 40 for the VIPs got to see the movie. It was like 2 weeks before the movie came out. I had to give my cell phone. You had to get like a cell phone check. I had never seen that before. It's like, oh, that probably happens a lot with these advanced screenings. I'm like, wow,
that's
it.
Interesting. That's it. Yep. Yeah, no, it does. It does happen a lot. It happened at, did it happen at the world premiere? No, I don't think it. No, it didn't. I had my phone.
You got the film when
I was in the seats. Yeah. No, it didn't. It didn't. But they had made the announcement that they're going to be watching people. So and everybody behaved themselves as far as I know. I don't think anything leaked in terms of anything from the screen from the world premiere. So
I don't think so. I remember looking because I'm that guy, but I remember. I don't think I remember seeing anything leaked.
No, it was great. It was a lot of fun. There's a video on my channel. It's if you just type in Dave McRae Halloween world premiere, it'll pop up. It's a whole, I go through the whole day. I start with Bruce. We're at his place. We go downtown. We have something to eat. I document the whole day right up to the premiere.
That's awesome.
And when you got out, you talked outside. I remember that. Yeah.
I did. Yeah. Right in Dundas Square in Toronto, which is sort of Toronto's Times Square, all the billboards and then lights and everything. And we gave our review of the movie. Yeah, no, it was great. It was actually, Bruce and I we saw all three movies together, 18 Kills and Ends. And after each movie, we went live on my channel and talked about it. Yeah. That's awesome. The most I'll never forget the most people I ever had tuning into me live was when the trailer for Halloween Kills dropped, and I went live 5 minutes after it dropped, and I had nearly 1,200 people watching me live. Wow. I'll never forget that. Yeah, it was like 1,188 or something like that. It's still
the teaser or the full length. That was probably the teaser.
I think it's I think it's the full length. I think it was. I think.
Pretty sure I was probably there.
Yeah. Well, the entire world seemed to be there that night. So it was it was great. It was great. I loved it. I thought it was great having so many people engaged. But it was really hot. Like it had just dropped, and I thought I'm going to go live right now. And yeah, it was nearly 1,200 people. It's still the record for me in terms of live shows. So
Dave was the first person I watched. Hold on a second. Myers and the Winter of 20. Awesome videos back then. I had to see you got me into the 2018 movie long before it came out.
Amazing, Rob. I love it. That's awesome.
And I know I talked to these gentlemen when you did your video about Beverly Hills Cop Axel Foley. People that were, oh God, what did they expect it to be disappointing? I was like, I think it was great fan service. It was a good film.
It was great. Beverly.
Yeah.
It was what it should have been.
Yeah.
You know, what do you expect? It's fine. It fits right in with the others. It's way better than 3, but I mean,
Three.
it fits with, you know,
3.
1 and 2. And I think maybe it's a little, but maybe it's a little glossy. Maybe I would have color graded it a bit different. Maybe it's a little warm, just a smidgy warm. I would have gone back to the colorist and have been like, maybe we can kind of pull this back. I mean, maybe it's a little shiny, you know, but in terms of, yeah, and I know maybe Eddie could have done a little more of his shenanigans, but I mean, it's also, I think what you have to understand is that it's narratively what they're doing with a lot of these legacy sequels is they're whether you like it or not, they're progressing the narrative. They're progressing the story of the character. So Eddie Murphy, Axel Foley is not a 22-year-old cop. So they're progressing. He's got a daughter now. He's older now. You know, we're seeing him in that stage of his life. And and they've done that. They did that with Indiana Jones. And although the Dial of Destiny wasn't great, I didn't think it was the dumpster fire that a lot of people said it was.
No, not at all.
But you know, he's 80 and we're seeing him at this different point in his life. And that's why, you know, they do that, because they can't just do the same thing over again. If you want the same thing over again, then just go watch Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2.
Still watch
you
it,
know,
yeah.
Exactly.
Now there is one thing I wish he would have done. He didn't do it in the movie, and he doesn't do it anymore. It's his laugh.
His laugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't do it. And he said in an interview, yeah, no, I didn't do that because, you know, he's a bit more mature now. And I'm just like, oh, Eddie. I wish, that's one thing I wish he could have, because there was a couple of moments where he could have done it.
He could have did it.
Know?
Yep.
Where he does laugh. He's like, I'm like, no, that's not, Axel Foley's not a,
I think he fought that with the Lions jacket too. He didn't want to wear the Lions jacket for part of it too.
Well, that I don't mind. The Lions jacket, I think, makes sense to me narratively. I think, would he really be still wearing this Lions jacket? Like, I mean, is this supposed to be the same Lions jacket from 1984? or is this just, he just keeps buying new Lions jackets that are the same? Because if it's supposed to be right, like I look at it through the lens of what's the motivation from the story, right? Is this supposed to be the Lions jacket that he's always worn? And he didn't wear, and excuse me, I need to correct myself. He didn't wear that Lions jacket in the first movie. That Lions jacket only made its appearance in part 2. And of course it was in part 3. So my mind is, well, why is he, like, I understand him as an actor, he's gonna question that, he's gonna challenge that, he's gonna say to the director, he's gonna say, well, why am I wearing this? Like, is this, like, I understand why, but narratively, would I still be wearing this? Does it make sense for me to wear this? Can I wear a different Detroit jacket? Like, I didn't wear it in the first movie, so can I wear just a different Lions jacket? Like, would it be the same jacket? You know, like, I mean, 40 years later, or 35 years later, I understand that. And I could see myself, if I was in the director's chair, going, you know what, you're right. Maybe you're not wearing it. You didn't wear it in the first movie, so maybe you're not wearing it in this movie, you know? But the laugh, I would have fought for. Now, obviously, Eddie Murphy probably would have won, because he would have been more powerful than me in his position than I would have been in my position. But I would have fought for it. Not actually fought him, but you know what I mean? Like, I would have been like, Eddie, you know, I would have made my case. I would have, you know, been like, I think we should do it. You know, we got to do this. And maybe I could get one out of him. Okay, Eddie, but can you give me one? Just one, just at the beginning of the movie, and then we don't do it again for the rest of the movie. Just one, maybe when you're like driving the snowplow and you hit a car, you're like, damn, just one, maybe just one in there,
right?
You
know, snuck one
in, and maybe I could have gotten one out of him, just one. We've been like, all right, I'll do one. You know,
little fan service, just one.
Yeah, just one. But,
I would have just added it during, you know, in post. That
would surprise his ass.
I don't know. He goes to the premiere. He sees
the prom was there.
Yeah, that's another thing that I found a little strange.
Yeah.
That's
seen it 2 or 3.
No, you didn't. And so it's purely fan service, but at the same time, I'm okay with it because it's just kind of like, hey, you know what? But I agree. I'm kind of like, would he still be driving the Chevy Blue, whatever they said it was the first
Chevy
movie?
Nova.
The Chevy Nova. That's right. I'm like, because in the first movie, it's a beat up Chevy Nova.
Crappy
And then in this
Chevy
movie, of course, it's, you know, it looks pristine, you know? I don't know. I get why people are like, you know, but yeah, the jacket in the car, as soon as I watched the movie and, you know, the heat is on, comes on and he drives through the tunnel and he's in that Chevy Nova. I'm like, get out of here. I'm like, I know what you're doing. I'm like, all right. I'm in.
Bill says at this point, he says happy to be doing a Neutron dance. Yeah, right?
Hey, you know what? I'm glad they had all three of those songs in there. They had the Neutron Dance. They had Shakedown by Bob Seger, I think it was.
Yeah, they had them all in there.
And The Heat Is On. Yeah, why not? Why not? Hey, if you're gonna put the jacket on him and have him sit in the car, okay, like you might as well just, you know what I mean?
That's where I'd be curious to know, like, if based on the views that it's had with Netflix, how much that could have been made at the theater with that movie. I'm assuming it would have made some good money at the theater.
Yeah, you know what? I think it would have done okay. I don't think it would have been a box office juggernaut, but I think the reason why they didn't put it in the theater, one of the reasons anyway, is because apparently, which is just mind-numbingly to me, because I'm like, what is like half of that Eddie's salary? That movie cost, what was it, like 150 million? It was something ridiculous. Yeah, it was like Marvel budget. Well, Marvel budget's like 250, but I mean, it was like a lower tier Marvel budget. You know, I'm just like, a Beverly Hills Cop movie. I'm like, are you insane? This movie should have been made for 45 million. I'm like, what the hell is, you know, or 50 million or 60 million, like south of 100 million. But Eddie Murphy's probably like, hey man, you know, it's Eddie Murphy. You know, I bet you he was paid, I don't know what he was paid, 30 million for it, maybe at least 20 million, you know, but I'm just like, I know there was some set, you know, action sequences and the helicopter scene probably cost a lot. It probably cost a lot. You know, but I'm just like $150 million Beverly Hills Cop movie. Holy fuck. So and then, you know, and again, that's production budget. Well, I don't know if Netflix includes the marketing budget in their totals. I'm not sure. But if this was a studio film,
streaming,
when you hear the name, the cost of a movie, that's just production budget. That's not marketing. So let's just say it was just the production budget. And it's not marketing. Well, they're going to spend what? Another 50 million on marketing, whatever. So now you're at like 200 million. I mean, that movie's going to have to make 400 million, you know, or something like that. I mean, it's just like, so I don't know if it was the only reason, but I think that probably played a factor. I don't know if that movie would have made that kind of money in the theater. So I'm not sure.
Interesting.
Travis says, what's going on? Sorely Missing was Better Way by James Ingram and Stir It Up by Patti LaBelle. They weren't in it? The songs? I don't remember.
No, Stir It Up wasn't.
Oh, Stir It Up now. Oh, yeah. I love the use of Axel F though. They used it a lot in the movie, and I really like it. My only thing too, again, you know what? I give it a solid 7, 8 out of 10. I mean, it's good. It's good. Some people might think 7, that's it, because we live in a world now where apparently a 7 is a dog shit thing. I'm like, 7 is amazing. I'd give anything to make a movie and have it released, and people think it's a 7. What are you, insane?
7's good. Come on.
Oh, it's fine. It's a 7's great. This means you enjoyed it. But I will say that I wish Billy was in it a bit more. I would have liked to have had the trio just a little bit more,
right?
You know, just a little bit. You know what I mean? I understand that, you know, they can't run around and leap over cars like they used to, but maybe just a little bit more with the trio. And I'll be curious if they do another one.
I showed my wife. I was telling her about how they had the TV pilot filmed, and it's on YouTube.
Yes.
It's pretty bad.
I've seen it. I've only seen the with him and his son, and I'm just like, you know, I don't know, but they canceled it essentially because Eddie didn't want to do it. Oh yeah, he did. He always wears it. That's just his jacket. Yeah, he just wears it. I mean, yeah, it's just funny.
Travis sends a
what's
super
Travis
chat in.
got
Thanks,
here?
buddy.
Hey,
$9.99. Greetings, guys. Love your channel, Dave. Your Halloween 2018 sequel pitch video was awesome. Yes, it was. Would have loved to see you do an H6.
An H6 pitch video? You mean like a sequel to Halloween 6? Oh god,
Yeah.
there's no saving that movie. There's no saving Halloween.
Even better, do a sequel pitch to H5 and see, because now you have to take all the pieces and parts of that mess.
Well,
and come up with something.
I'll do one you better. I'll do one you better. I'll do one you better. No, that's not it. I'll do one better.
You do one better. One better.
I'll do you one better. That's it. That's it.
There it is.
There it is. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. I knew it was something like that. No, well, there is an episode of McRae Live on my channel. I don't know what episode it is, but if you type in, Dave McRae Live Halloween 5 or something, you'll probably get because there's probably a few episodes where I talk about Halloween 5, but I have an episode on my channel where I talk about what I would have done with my version of Halloween 5. So it's my sequel to Halloween 4. So it's not quite as long as the sequel concept idea video for my sequel to Halloween 18, which is like 2.5 hours. Or maybe it is, I don't know. But I basically, I go through, this is what I would have done with a Halloween 5. I would have kept Rachel alive and built on their relationship and, all that kind of stuff. So it's on my channel. I don't know what episode it is, but it's an episode of McRae Live.
But I'm saying you need to make a sequel to H5 based on how it ends and all those pieces and parts. That's why I figured. Oh my god, that's hard.
If I find the motivation somewhere in me, then maybe I'll do it. Because
that would be hysterical. It's like trying to put a car back together with missing pieces. Like that would have
finally see Sheriff Meeker getting blown away like those.
I know. There's no saving it.
You get this. Put Dr. Death back in there.
That's right.
God.
Oh god.
Dr. Death.
Oh geez, who's your buddy? Frank says,
Frank!
You guys have found a more entertaining guest.
I
Frank,
I agree with that statement, Frank. I couldn't agree with you more, Frank. Jeez, this guest is just annoying.
What's up, brother?
I mean, Dave's own H6 would love to see a version of the Man in Black. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like now you're stuck with these pieces and parts. It's like Hell's Kitchen. Here's the ingredients. Now make something. You have such and such amount of time. What could you make with it?
If I felt motivated, I felt motivated to do that, right? My sequel to Halloween 18, my sequel to Halloween 5.
It's hard.
Where do I start?
Yeah,
first you sober Loomis up. First of all, you send him. You make him dry out.
That's right.
I don't think Dave's going to Salt Lake City to check out those sites anytime soon.
Oh, excuse me. I wouldn't go specifically to, if I happen to be in Salt Lake, I would definitely check them out for sure. Yeah, I'd want to check them out, but I wouldn't fly to Salt Lake City just specifically to go check out the Halloween 4 and 5 locations and 6 locations. Because I think 6 was shot there too.
Brett's there. You're going to be there, right, Brett?
2 weeks. 2 weeks for the con there.
Oh, there's a con. Oh, good old Mel. Good old Mel. He's never had controversy in his life. Good for him.
No, not at all.
No, not at all. No. We've talked about it.
One of the best voicemails ever, right?
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
we've
loving, caring,
our own con together, right? Our own con and our own trip to Salt Lake City just to visit the sites, just for ourselves. Like, we'll all meet. We'll go to all the sites. Our biggest thing is we want to go see the Killing Place
electrical location.
We want to see Bucky. We're big fans of Bucky.
Yeah.
Good old Bucky. Yep.
My Bucky.
We've all made our own Bucky hard hats. We have problems.
Oh, that's awesome. I see that. That's great. That's great. Yeah, you got the Bucky hard hat. I love it.
Yeah. So we're like, we got to go out there, check out the Bucky site. We'll go check out the houses. It would be fun. It'd be fun as hell. We're big fans of Bucky.
Try that Halloween shit with me.
Very well. Try that Halloween shit with me.
That's right.
Halloween 5 would have been all about the sale of the Myers house to the Munsters. Nice, Bill.
That's funny.
Travis says, my H6 literally begins the Man in Black taking Mike's car from H5 to be fixed, while Billy Ocean's When the Going Gets Tough plays as we montage over the deaths of H5. Couldn't be worse.
There you go. No, it couldn't be.
No,
That just
Halloween
hits you
5
all
is
at
a-
once. No, Travis.
That's
Just
good,
hits you all at
Travis.
once.
That's it. And look, I understand that people love Halloween 5. I mean, I did a video on my channel just about a week ago talking about the closet scene in Halloween 5, and I had some. I mean, I think most people tend to agree with me. Even if somebody doesn't agree with me, they sort of see my point. But I did have a few Halloween 5, lovers come out and go, "Oh, damn, Halloween 5 is amazing. It's the best movie." And I just say, listen, if you love Halloween 5, it's great. I think that's awesome. I don't, and listen, I can, I think I enjoy watching it better than Resurrection.
Oh, we all agree with that.
I
Yeah,
It's the
might
worst
even,
one of the series for us.
I might even enjoy, and this is just me, I might even enjoy watching it better than H2O, even though it's lower on my list than H2O. I'm not a big fan of H2O. I don't hate H2O. I don't think it's
I
like
think it's
Resurrection.
aged well. Is probably maybe.
No, and it just doesn't feel, smell, look, taste like Halloween to me. It's just I don't like
music, the mask.
the music. I don't like the big eye holes. I'm just not. I think it's a great, even though it wasn't. I think it's a great PG feeling horror movie, and it feels like Halloween light, and it feels very much like Scream. Michael Myers walked onto the set of Dawson's Creek. I always say that, and I say that my tongue is planted in my cheek. I say all those things. People might think, "Oh my God, he thinks it's the worst Halloween movie of all time." I don't think it's the worst Halloween movie. It's not the worst Halloween by a long shot. It's not the worst Halloween movie, but because it's got a different sort of, it's just got a bit of a different something to it. I've never really been pulled to love it as much as some people do. And as I've often said on my channel, when it came out, I was already, came out in 1998. I was already 19, and so. It wasn't my first Halloween movie I ever saw. It wasn't the first one I saw in the theater. And so for a lot of Halloween fans, I've discovered that there is a big nostalgic attachment to that movie, largely because, not the only reason, but a big reason is because it was either the first Halloween movie that ever got them into the franchise, or it was the first one they ever saw in the movie theater. So there's this fond memory, this nostalgic connection to H2O, and I completely understand that. And you can have fun with it. You can absolutely have fun with it, but it feels very much like a product of its time. Very much Scream. I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's got that kind of vibe to it, and it doesn't quite feel like Halloween. It's set in California, the music. I mean, fuck, they use the same music in Scream they use in Halloween, in H2O. And so it's kind of like, I love I love me some LL Cool J, something like a phenomenon. I'm there. I get it. But, he's that bit of that comic, whenever I think of his character in that movie, I just think of big, round breasts.
Melon breasts.
That's a melon breast. That's right. That's right. That's right. The way he says it.
The grassy
Big
old god. that show.
melon breasts. And I get it. Like it's a fun. It's a fun. I get why people like it, but but what about Laurie's arc? And I'm like, yeah, I get it. The head chopping off. Yeah, I get all that. I get it. It just doesn't feel like Halloween to me, and the mood and the atmosphere and the tone of Halloween is very much, for me, it's a character in the movie, and when you remove that character, to me, it's very noticeable. So when you watch Halloween 5, now Halloween 5 there's got a lot of issues with Halloween 5, but it's still kind of it's not nearly as atmospheric and as great as Halloween 4. But you got Donald Pleasance in it, and he elevates anything he's in, even the bad movies. And so, even completely inebriated. And there's and I hate the mask, and I hate I hate the house. But there's still, I have a lot of issues with 5, but I think I would rather watch 5 than H2O. I think, maybe not. I don't know. Ask me again tomorrow and I'll change my mind maybe. But 5 is a debacle. 5 is the one. I've said this before. And there's a lot of people that tend to disagree with me, and I don't mean to sound pretentious when I say this, but I think it might be because people aren't quite understanding what I'm saying.
What you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe not. But I've said that Halloween 5 is the movie that destroyed the franchise. And I'm not saying that there aren't other bad movies after that, but Halloween 4 was a moderate success at the box office,
The Mask, of course, is not what we want. But in terms of atmosphere, like it was probably as good as you could have done with new filmmakers in the late 80s when the slasher subgenre's trajectory was heading down. Like by 1988, people didn't care about slasher movies anymore. You know, we were already heading down. And so it did all right. And you know, the camera work and the cinematography, which is the same thing, you know, and the lighting, and Loomis was great in that movie, you know, some great lines, you know, 6 bodies, Sheriff. I'm telling you, Michael Myers is in this. I mean, it was just, there's so much, it was good. It was good. It was, I like 4. The ending, you know what I mean?
And the twist ending. Yep.
Yeah.
What a great Casablanca. Like, it was good. 5 is the one where Dominic Orthinian Gerard should not, he's this French director. Oh, I'm going to do this and this and this. He was too avant-garde. And there were creative decisions that were made that, you know, I'm sorry. I just, as a storyteller and as a filmmaker, when you're moving the narrative forward, it makes no sense. It's not properly motivated. It doesn't make any sense. I had somebody reach out to me on my video where I was talking about this and said something about how I didn't respond to this person. I just saw it come in and I've just been so busy, but they said something about how they disagreed with me that you know, the Myers house. So it's like that because it's like that. It doesn't need to be mentioned why it's like that. It's no different than, I think the analogy they use, it's no different than Maggie Gyllenhaal being recast or being cast in The Dark Knight over Katie Holmes, who was in, you know, Batman Begins. And although I understand the point they're trying to make, it's not the same thing. It's not. It's similar in terms of I understand what you're saying, but the Myers house is it's part of the set design in the story, in the film, and we know what the Myers house looks like before, and all of a sudden it's not a little bit different, right? A parallel, Maggie and Katie are both brunettes. They're both have cute features, not bold features. They both have girl next door looks. They look like they could be potentially cousins. They look similar to each other. The analogy would only be true, this person who's trying to make a point, and I say this with all due respect, if character in The Dark Knight had been blonde, had been gigantic, big-breasted, had been very tall, like what's her face, Bridget Nielsen in Beverly Hills Cop 2, had been a completely different person, had bolder features, right? Had a bold look to her. Then now the analogy starts to align, right? Because then you're like, wait a minute, that's not what's her face, right? But that's not what happened here. What happened in Halloween 5 is they delivered a blonde with gigantic breasts who was 6'5". That's what they did, and asked the audience to believe that it's the Myers house. They said, well, this is the Myers house, with no mention to why. And so, and that to me, and I know this is, you know, first world problems, right? But as a filmmaker, I look at that and I go, this doesn't make any sense. It's not like it's a house that looks similar, like the house in Halloween 6, right?
6.
The house in Halloween 6 doesn't look anything like the Myers house, but you could go, well, you know what? Maybe I can kind of,
right.
You can relate. It doesn't take you out of it.
The shape of it. It's
the shape of it, maybe some renovation.
Porch.
That is more in line of, hey, we got Katie Holmes, we got Maggie Gyllenhaal. Okay. I'm in. You know what? I believe it. I'm in. They're both cute. They both have cute features. They're both girl next door. They're both brunettes. They both kind of look like similar frames. I'm in. Okay. You know what? All right, let's do it. But that's not what happened in Halloween 5. You know, they delivered Bridget Nielsen. You know, and you're like, I'm sorry, what? What's
the Carruthers house could have passed more for a Myers house.
I still wouldn't have even done the Carruthers house because it's a different sort of more elongated. But I get your point. I get your point. Yeah, this was a mansion. This is a Gothic mansion. This is like, what, does Dracula live here or something? Am I over in you know? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And it's a beautiful home. Yes, it's a beautiful home.
It's an amazing home. I love the Myers house in Halloween 5. It's just in the wrong movie. I just think use this in something else. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. It's not properly motivated. And when you're storytelling, when you're the 5th director in, okay, and you're making a film, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, you can't just do what you want to do because but I get it. I get you're experimental and you're not, but somebody's got to reel him in. And Deborah Hill should have done it, or Mustafa Akkad should have done it. Should have been like, no, we can't. And I know that I don't think Akkad was necessarily on board at first with Orthinian Gerard. I don't think he was at first. But anyways, he should not have been able to do that. You know, they should have found a house somewhere else in Salt Lake City that could have passed.
Which they could have,
you know, but he was too in his feeling. But look, it's artistic. I'm doing this. It's going to be great. It's like, yeah, for another movie. You know,
exactly.
I get that.
One time, another day.
Don't do it here.
Yeah, but I want to make a giallo Halloween film. No, another movie. Let's just, you know, and but. All those issues are the reasons why a lot of people like Halloween 5. They like his style. They like all that. And if you don't care about that, that's fine. But I'm telling you, as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, there's no way in hell I would ever do that. And if I was a producer, I'd be saying to my director, what are you talking? There's a whole universe we've built here. And we've established that this is what the Myers house looks like. So if you want to use this, then we got to write something about how it was renovated, it was refurbished, the Myers house is in there somewhere, but now they've tackled everything on top. Like, we got to do something. And I know that I'm thinking about this to the degree that a lot of fans don't care, but this is how you think. And when you're approaching something like this, you got to think about those things. You know, how are fans going to react? And
continuity.
Continuity. And like I said on my channel, do you think Fred Heads would have put up with that with the Freddy house? Do you think Elm Street fans would be like, oh, that's okay, I guess I'll see Elm Street? No way in hell. The only reason why they were able to get away with this with the Halloween 5, and when I say get away, look, it's nothing we can do. If the film's shot and it's out in theaters, you know, it's not like we can go change that. I mean, no, I just mean like put up with it in the sense of, you know, making noise, you know, is what I'm saying, right? And making so much noise that, of course, it was a different time. There was no social media. But I don't believe that Fred Heads would have put up with that. And I only think the reason why they were able to get away with it, I realize how silly that sounds, is because the Myers house is not nearly as iconic or well-known as the Elm Street house or the Amityville Horror house or the Psycho house. We love the Myers house, but you put that, you show a bunch of people photos of iconic homes. I mean, just regular people out on the street, and the Myers house will probably hardly get recognized. It might if it's a horror fan.
Well,
but
nowadays,
it was
maybe nowadays, but back then you're absolutely right.
Well, to the average person on the street, to just the average person on the street, you just walk out onto the street, you know, your next door neighbor, Bob, who's taking his kids to soccer practice, who likes movies, but, you know, just the average person, maybe, but I guarantee you, the Psycho house will probably get picked out like that.
Oh, that's
right.
Oh,
the Amityville house will get picked out like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Elm Street house will get picked out, right? It's so iconic. It's so iconic. And there's no way. Can you imagine all of a sudden in Elm Street 5, the Myers house is the Elm Street house and there's no mention to why it's different? You just get, you know, you get little, you know, you get, what's her fit? Not Tina, Alice, you know, she walks up, she's like, oh, and it's just the Freddy house. It's like, what? What? That doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. But that's also because the Elm Street house is a character in the franchise, whereas the Myers house isn't necessarily, although it is in the first movie. But anyway, I digress. But
they did have a crossover though, because remember in the Elm Street house where the TV scenes were filmed. For
yes, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's what Sean figured
so it does
out.
have a little bit of
that's right
crossover.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. The TV version of Halloween 2, some scenes were filmed in the actual Elm Street house. That's correct.
Very nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I believe it's when Laurie's just in a robe, right? And PJ comes over. I think that's the one.
She is. She's got her hair in and the reason why she's got her hair in a towel is because her hair was short then.
Short.
She'd chopped it all off, so she had to put a towel on as if she was drying her hair, so it fit the continuity. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was all during Halloween 2 when they shot that. I thought, right? I think
it was. Yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah, they needed to pad the runtime.
He loves the idea of the Myers house being a girl with big boobs. Myers House in Part
I knew
5.
Frankenstein's already. Myers House in Part 5 got implants. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Big bulging bowling balls. That's
I got to go
yeah.
revisit that watch along you guys did.
Oh yes, that's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a great
Yeah.
one. Yes, I
Frank.
agree.
That last
This is one of the
that
biggest ones. The mask is just a mess. I mean, we know
The
it's
Nick
Greg
Cage?
Nicotiro's face.
Yeah.
Well, the whole
yeah,
neck. It's got that big neck that sticks out. That sticks out like it's got like a
it does.
like a leisure suit collar with a big
does.
neckline. It's like seriously.
It does. And I actually think Don Shanks was a pretty decent Myers. I don't
It
really
wasn't
have any.
bad.
I don't have any complaints in terms of his movement or his stature. I actually like him better than Chris Duran. Again, this is not personal to Chris Duran. I'm sure he's a lovely man. But in terms of the portrayal of the character, I like him better. And I do. I like his portrayal of Myers. I have no issues with him. I mean, there's that one scene where he looks like he's walking aimlessly under the tree, kicking rocks. But that's a directing issue. That's not a Don Shanks issue. But
He
the
was in
mask
first
guys,
next scene, but he didn't know where to go, so he just walked around under the tree. Call me when you
Yeah.
need me.
Well, he does
Yeah,
have that other
exactly.
badass mask in the car. What's the
Brute
mask?
that's
mask.
the
Brute.
brute mask. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, no, he's I liked him actually. I thought he was all right. But the mask and the mask being as different as it is also makes no sense. It doesn't look anything like the Halloween 4 mask, and yet it's supposed to be the same mask. So, I don't
Yeah,
know.
the Ronald
Always
McDonald
been the
mask
mask
turned into
issue.
Nick Cage mask, right, Pat?
In the cage
Mm.
mask.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, it's just I never understood the whole thing with the mask, and that's why we had Chris Nelson on. I think was it 2 weeks ago. We had
Mm,
Chris Nelson
nice.
on here, and we were saying I was just like, thank God somebody got the mask right, and it was the same like continuity from movie to movie to movie. It's like thank God.
Yeah,
because
you have
it's-
no trouble believing it's the same mask. 40
You always
years later.
wondered what it was going to look
Yes.
like next. It's like, okay,
That's
what is
it.
the mask going to look like
He
next?
kept
And
that
you'll be like,
continuity.
He
Yeah.
did. And I loved what he did with the Halloween Kills. I mean, despite that, I think the 18 film is the best in the David Gordon Green trilogy. I think the Kills movie has grown on me in terms of, well, I don't know if it's grown on. I've always loved the Michael Myers shit, that, the firefighters and, all his kills and stuff like all the Michael Myers stuff in Kills. For the most part, there's a few things I don't like, but for the most part, it's fine. It's just sort of the segue and the hospital stuff and the
Hospital's
trauma.
gotta
And
go.
it's the whole, and the evil dies tonight. And some of the acting, I will say, some of the acting in Halloween Kills, I do not find convincing. There's a couple of lines, and I don't mean Halloween or Evil Dies Tonight, but although that was overdone, there's a couple of lines that were delivered from Andy Matichuk that I don't, and it's not an attack on her. She was great in everything else in terms of the movie. It's just a couple of lines that were delivered. One in particular is when she says, "What?" When she's in the other room. I'm just like, oh, I don't buy that. I don't buy it at all. I don't know if they had another take they could use. But I just don't buy it. I don't know if it was fresh after lunch and they had broken for lunch. So her was out of the headspace and they were coming back to get that shot. Cause that can sometimes happen. When you pick up a scene later after lunch or something, you have to get back into the zone and into the mind frame, to where you were. And sometimes that can be, a bit difficult. You got to sort of get warmed up again. I don't know if that was the case, but the way she delivered it, when I first saw it in the theater, I remember going, I don't believe that. It feels, I don't know if it was just overkill or what. There was a couple of line delivery. It just felt like it was overdone with Cameron, and Allison, when they're in the hall. And there's a couple of lines, like right in a row. Like, do you know when you're typing, say you're typing to somebody or you're typing an email and you use the same word too many times, too close to each other? Like, how sometimes you'll be like, yeah, I really like that. That's cool. I like that a lot. I like the time. Like, like, oh, there's too many likes in there. I got to space that out or something.
I've done that in your chats on your videos. Don't worry.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. But you'll use a word just too many times, like I've used the word discombobulated too many times in like one sentence. I need to spread that out. Or it just, it disrupts the flow. It was kind of like that, where it's something like, I don't know who it was, because again, I haven't seen the movie in a couple of years, but maybe it was Tommy. I can't remember. Was in the hospital with Cameron and Allison. And they were like, he said, I'm paraphrasing all of this, of course, but he said something like, whoever they were talking to was like,
yeah, listen, we got to do something. It's been 40 years and we got to do something right now. And then Cameron's like, turns to somebody else like, yeah, we got to do something. It's been 40 years, since that night, and we got to do. And then Allison's like, it's been 40 years, and I'm just like, whoa. I'm like, what? Like, we got to. There's too many 40 years here, and that in this, I'm just like, if that's in the script, we gotta somebody say it, and then we're all here in the same room. We all hear it. Nobody needs to say it again in this conversation. Unless, of course, it feels motivated by something they're adding. It didn't. It all felt like they were just acknowledging that it had been 40 years. Like, we've already acknowledged it. He acknowledged it. He acknowledged it to you. You've heard it. We don't need to acknowledge it again. And these are things that you think about when you're writing and you're thinking about characters and natural dialogue in a scene. There was just a few moments like that in that movie where I was like, no, this feels a little salady. It feels awkward. It wasn't delivered with the flow that I think it should have been delivered with. There was some scene in the hospital where that was like that. And I remember going, and the guy who people think is Myers, who looks more like Danny DeVito than Myers.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
I'm just like, it's a sidestep, and I'm just like,
rest in peace. I think that guy's passed.
Yeah, he
has passed. Yes, he did pass away. The actor did. And then Ends, like I said, I'm in the minority on this, but I don't hate Ends as much as people do. I understand why people don't like Ends, and I agree with it. I think it should have been it should have been, well, actually, I have a video on my channel where I lay out what I would have done with Halloween Ends, and I do think it's much better. But ironically, I actually like the Corey Cunningham story. I think it's a good story. It would have been a great story for after Halloween Ends. And I think it would have fit right in because, I sometimes say I was enjoying Halloween Ends, ironically, until Michael Myers showed up. When he showed up, I was like, oh, this sucks now. Like, it does now it feels weird. But the Corey Cunningham story, I think, is quite fascinating as sort of an anthology story that you could introduce, kicking off some sort of anthology series called Haddonfield or something. You could have Andy Matichek in it. You could have Jamie Lee Curtis in it. I don't know if you could afford it after she won her Oscar, but you could ask her. And everything that happened with Corey Cunningham and Jamie Lee Curtis and Andy Matichek, Laurie and Allison, and the conversation, oh, I think this is a bad, boy for you. I've seen those eyes before. All of that you can do without Michael. You can do, and what a great story it would be about this town that is dealing with the residual effects of Michael Myers, who's now dead. And now this poor kid who has this horrible, unfortunate event happen to him. And he's this all-American kid, good looking, going to go to college. His life's turned upside down. People of the town think he's fucking a murderer. He killed this kid. Oh my God, it's happening again. He's put on trial. Maybe he's acquitted. He's found innocent. He goes back to his hometown. The people don't talk to him. And it's the bullying and the psychological residual effects that affect him deep inside that ironically turns him not into Michael Myers, but they start to create another monster. And it's the town that does it. You don't need Michael Myers in that story. You don't have to have him grab his neck and pass some sort of essence onto him or whatever the fuck that was. You don't need any of that. You don't need that at all. It's ironically, it's a good idea. It's actually an interesting story. If I was in the writer's room, I would have been like, that's actually a really good story. Let's put it over here. Because maybe that's something we can do afterwards. And then that story, you feel like Myers is a part of it. You know what I mean? Because he's talked about, right? The town is still dealing with the effects of Myers. Maybe you see old, newspaper photos of him. Like Myers is still mentioned. He's still in that movie on the peripheral being mentioned, but he's not in the movie because he's dead. And now it's all about Corey Cunningham and this and you can have all the social commentary, you can have all of that about trauma and what happens with bullying and how we shouldn't do that, and the town and everything. And then the more they bully him, the more that he's bullied at school, the more that he doesn't feel loved and wanted and all that kind of stuff, the more he becomes more like Michael Myers. Not like Mike, he's not going to turn into Michael Myers. You can't do that. But he becomes another monster. And I think that's a really cool story to tell. So the Corey Cunningham, I hate to say it, but I've watched Halloween Ends a couple of times. I'm always like, I kind of like this part. Like I like what they're doing here. Yeah, like I dig this. But then Myers shows up, and I'm like, oh, that kind of, it's like
I had to sleep
It's like,
on.
oh,
the
you're
Corey
here?
thing.
Seriously?
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
You've done well in an anthology series. Like, now they're talking about this Halloween series. I know that you did the video about, them doing a prequel series about Loomis. I mean, if they do something like sort of like American Horror Story, where every season is a different story. Okay, you could do a little bit of the story of Loomis. You don't have to go all the way back to his home life. You can just see, you can just basically take from him meeting Myers.
It's an episode. It's an episode.
If you read the Halloween novelization, there's a lot of shit that went on at Smith's Grove in that novelization that
true.
would really be cool on screen, because the whole time Donald Pleasance, Sam Loomis is trying to explain to the court, we need to keep him locked up. This is what's going on, but he could never prove it.
That's right. Look, I think as a one-off episode or something like that, like an hour long, a cool, like an anthology series, exactly like that. Or maybe it's a couple episodes, if you need it, for sure. I could see that being all right. My worry with the Loomis series is just the demystification of Loomis, and also the demystification of Myers. If you do a Loomis series before Myers, then I've never imagined, I said this on, the video, but I've never imagined his life to be that interesting before Myers.
Right.
He's not I know there's this mystique around Loomis that the Halloween fans have created for the character. He's like the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the series. He's the one he's the all-knowing, he's the wise wizard. I get all that, but he's not a superhero. That trench coat ain't a cape. And what he was in that first movie was a man of science who was out of his depth. He spent 8 years trying to reach him, which is what he would have done with all the other kids that came through that hospital. And then another 7 trying to keep him locked up. That's when he realized he was questioning his faith. He's a man of science. He's a psychiatrist. He can write prescriptions, for God's sakes. And he was a fish out of water. And he was obsessed because he couldn't figure it out. Every other child, he was able to diagnose. It's this. Myers it's that. I don't know what it is. It's such a great character. He's obsessed with him. I don't know what's going on. But before Myers, if you want to do a Loomis series before Myers, to make it interesting, and especially if you're doing 1 hour episodes and you're doing 9 or 10 of them, that's 10 hours. Holy shit. That's like 4 movies right there. If you're going to do that, there's got to be a lot of character development and nuance and story and characters. And you're going to have to give him patience. You know this is going to happen. I mean, are we just going to see a day in the life of Loomis every episode? He gets up, he scratches his balls, he has his coffee, he goes to work, he sits there, he deals with an uninteresting kid. I mean, you're going to want to write kids that are weird and creepy and a little supernaturally and fun. And it's like, but then if you make the kids he was dealing with before Myers borderline just as interesting or more interesting than Myers, then you run the risk of making Myers not that special, right? Then he's just a dime a dozen. Loomis has been dealing with this all the time. What the fuck? He's been dealing. Loomis was John McClane in Die Hard. Loomis was a fish out of water. He's like, what the fuck is going on? That's why he's like, I'm telling you, he's a fish out of water. He's a fish out of water. So that's always been I'm a Halloween fan. I will be there front and center to watch it day one. Let's do it. I'm there. And hopefully it's good. And I'm wrong. And I got egg on my face. I'm like, that's amazing. That would be amazing. I wouldn't care. You were wrong. Yeah, I want to be wrong. But I just don't know if it's worth the risk, because I'm like, what are you going to do? I mean, what are you going to do? It's Loomis, the formative years. Okay. He gets up. He's a young psychiatrist. He's going to work. He's analyzed. I mean, he's not a fucking cop. He's not a detective. I've seen these fan parts of Loomis, you know, he's like this, you know, and he's got that eye, and he's got the trench coat up, and he's looking back. I said, what are we doing? He's a goddamn psychiatrist. You know, he
was scared of him too.
He was terrified of Myers. Terrified of Myers. You know, and so anyway, so yeah, and then of course, if you do the Loomis Myers years, which a lot of people want to see, you run the risk of demystifying Myers. You know, not completely necessarily, but I just think there's only so much you can do in 8 to 10 episodes of an hour long each of Myers and Loomis in the hospital. Now, to your point, Pat, I mean, you're right in the sense that in the book, which isn't officially canon because right. Also in the book, Myers has blue eyeshadow and pink lipstick. So it's a whole different thing. There's a mask in there where he's got it's a whole, it was written after the movie came out. It was, the author expanded on the book because the movie in book form is just quite frankly not that interesting. So the author has to give backstory and talk about the Celtic, you know, rituals and Samhain and all that kind of stuff. You have to do that. And I understand that. And yes, that is apparently the correct pronunciation. Samhain, apparently not Samhain. Yep. But so I understand all that. But the mask in the book, yeah, it's like Michelle Myers. I mean, blue eyeshadow and pink lipstick. Because I think, although it was hinted at in the original film as sort of maybe subtext potentially, in the novel, if I'm not mistaken, it is overtly expressed that there is a sexual nature to, I think, Myers, or at least his urges to kill. His urges to kill. So obviously the big lipstick and on the mask and all that. So it's in my mind, it's not officially canon. It's more just kind of like a alternate version, perhaps. But yeah, so to do things to make those years interesting, those 7 years locked up, I just don't know if I don't want to see him as a child too much. I don't want to see his face or him sitting there too much and brightly lit light coming through the window, or I don't need too much might be a little, you know, I don't want him to become, you know, that's just me. And because I think what works with the Myers character is the foundation of ambiguity and anonymity. And you demystify that, and he just becomes like Freddy and Jason. Not that we don't love Freddy and Jason, but we know their backstories. Yeah, you know, you can tell a backstory to Freddy, you can tell a backstory to Jason, and you don't have to worry about ruining it because it was explained in the first movie. Freddy Krueger, he was a child murderer. He worked here. He was a janitor, or whatever he was. You know, you tell that story. That'd be great. Jason, he was this kid who was, he, cognitively impaired, and he didn't have much friends, and his mother was we know all that. Tell that story. That'd be great. But with Michael, we don't know.
Loomis looking like Darkman on the cover of Thinner.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Frank. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, I've seen some fan art of Loomis, and it tickles me, man. I'm just like, what? Like, all that's missing is him being like this. You know, like
he does have the Inspector Gadget. He's got the Inspector Gadget overcoat. He could be like, go Loomis arms.
go Loomis arms. Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Oh my God,
it's like, yeah. I know for some Halloween fans are like, Dave, you're such a party pooper. I know. But these are the things I think about. Hey, if I was ever hired to do this shit, this is the shit I'd be thinking about. I'd be like, well, we can't do that. It's gonna, you know.
You think more people would have liked the Corey character if somehow he was introduced in those previous two films, but maybe but I think the third movie changed because of COVID, though, right? The creative direction.
Apparently not. So I think what happened with that is, according to David Gordon Green and a few others attached to the project, Halloween Ends was not going to be something else, apparently. But I think, knowing how I know how things go, and I'm purely speculating here, I don't necessarily like, we both know, we both know, there's 5 of us here. We all know that, you know, I would suspect anyway, that there was no plan for Halloween Kills or Halloween Ends when they did the first movie. Now, I know they said, well, we kind of have an idea to do 2 movies, but we thought we'd just do 1 and see how it goes. But I don't think at that moment in 2018, when they decided to just do the first movie, that they had in their minds,
Kills. Yeah.
It would, yes, it would. Oh, Halloween Ends is going to be the end result. Because to your point, I think introducing Corey Cunningham in Halloween 18, because after all, that event that happens to him with the kid is on Halloween 18. It's that night. So I think introducing him earlier, becoming a part of the narrative, I think maybe that could see, that would have been interesting. You introduce him earlier, and the subplot, excuse me,
Maybe he's in that block where
him.
Myers is going through all those houses.
Well, but I'm just maybe, but I'm just saying a part of the subplot could be him. Corey is the subplot. So you start with Myers. Corey is coming up like this. We're watching Corey go through his shit, right? When we're not dealing with Myers, Allison gets fancy with him, a bit earlier in the series. And so there is no Cameron, right? That kind of is your subplot, not taking away from the A plot. I don't mean it becomes but that, like, instead of, the Dr. Sartain twist, instead of the hospital stuff, like it's about this Corey thing that is sort of the B plot that's coming up, so that when you get to Halloween Ends, there's this, it takes over. Right? It's kind of this, Michael dies, and all of a sudden now you're going into an anthology series, having established the Corey character through 3 movies. We've watched a bit of his trial, right? Maybe there's like a newspaper that we see about his trial and how he was acquitted. You know what I mean? And then we see how he's bullied at school. Maybe Allison wants to go to the Halloween dance, but Corey, they're all like, don't fucking invite that douche. You fucking murdered that kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's things like that in Halloween 18, right? Where and Allison feels a bit sorry for him. Maybe Cameron is there and she likes Cameron, but she looks to Corey shows up at the party and fucking hell breaks out at the party. Maybe Cameron gets into a fight with Corey. Like, what are you doing here? You fucking murdered that kid, you piece of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you build that earlier, so we watch the trajectory of the downfall of the town, so it feels earned. And when we get to Halloween Ends, yeah, there's a and then we're like, oh fuck, is Corey going in that direction? Oh fuck, holy shit. You know what I mean? Not at the detriment of Myers, right? I'm not saying there's, the plot B is overtaking the Myers. I'm just saying that it feels, the handoff feels more organic, rather than, who's this Corey guy? What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
And, what's happening? So yes, I do. Yes, I do. But that's because they made it up as they went along, and they didn't have that. They didn't have that idea, because it makes no sense why you would introduce that now. I think David Gordon Green, if it was me, of course, I would have made something a little more traditional in the sense of it's Myers-Laurie focused. I think in my idea I had, it was Myers had disappeared or something again, don't know where he was. Laurie was living in that house. It was Halloween was approaching. I can't remember if Corey was in the movie or not. But she was still kind of, Myers had been missing. Oh, I know he's going to come back. Something's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. A thunderstorm rolls on into Haddonfield or wherever she is. And maybe Corey. Anyways, it's on my channel. Just YouTube, Dave McRae, Halloween Ends idea or whatever. It's all there. I talk about what I would have done and the thunderstorm that comes in. It's very Laurie focused with Myers. And I think, actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's when I have all the power goes out in the town because of the storm. And that slaughter, I think that was my sequel concept idea as well. But I think maybe, anyways, I don't want to maybe I'm fucking losing it. But I just have it very Laurie Michael centric with a thunderstorm. I know that's there. And I think I take some of my sequel concept idea and I apply it to my idea of what I would have done for Halloween Ends. And I just land the plane. It's not fancy. It's not avant-garde. It's creepy. It's atmospheric. I give the fans what they want. Myers ripping through the town, killing people during a power outage or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I give fans, but I land the plane nice and easy. You know what I mean? I don't think it was the right thing to do. I find it strange that they wanted to do this story now. I don't understand now. I don't. But
yeah, and like I would have been a better way to go is to sort of have Corey be in the shadows through all 3 films. So at least he's there, and it could be like you're wondering, like, well, okay, we're seeing what's going on with this kid. What is it
Yeah.
building up to? Then you get to the third film, and you're
That's
like,
it.
oh, okay, now I see where it's going. And then they belong because I was telling everybody the story. See, I saw Halloween 3 back in the theater when it opened up, and we're there with my friends, and we're just like, 20 minutes in, 25 minutes in, we're like, what the fuck is Michael Myers? Are we in the right theater?
Right.
So here I am, 2022. I'm in the theater with my daughter, and probably a half hour in, she looks at me, she's like, Dad. I'm like, what? She goes, where's Michael Myers?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like history repeating itself.
44-minute mark
That's
or
it.
something like that.
Yeah, she's like,
Yeah.
I go, honey, I have no idea. I'm assuming he's going to show up at some point.
That's
and it was
it.
almost an hour in.
Yeah, exactly. So it was again, I don't think Halloween Ends is the dumpster fire that people say it is. I understand why Halloween fans don't like it and they think it's the worst in the franchise. I don't think it's the worst in the franchise. Because it is still a good story, well told. But it's just the wrong story for the third film in a trilogy that is the end of Halloween as we know it. Now, when I say Halloween, is obviously they're going to continue to make movies, but it could be the last Halloween movie connected to the 1978 original. I mean, it could very well be the end of the era that we know it. Laurie's, Jamie Lee Curtis done, John Carpenter done, it could be the end of an era. And I think they should have just delivered a safe, not a predictable movie, but just a safe, fun film. And they didn't do that. They went really strange and it didn't go anywhere because Corey ended up killing himself anyway. So it's like, where are we, like, what's going on here? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there you have it. Maybe he's not dead. Maybe he's still lying there. I don't know.
Maybe he'll come back like Myers.
You never know.
Hey, they didn't crush him. They didn't stick him in the grinder.
Yeah.
That's true.
You got
that's true.
you got a lot of the Christine references. Is that Cunningham's car? No,
Is that
He's
Cunningham's car? Yeah,
He's
I
gonna
love
come
that.
back. He's gonna come back riding a white horse.
There you go.
Oh,
That's
God.
right.
we don't
please, no.
talk about the white horse anymore.
Oh, God.
Why'd you do that?
Imagine.
That's
Hey,
it.
All I know is, hey, I was having nightmares. Reliving the days when I was in high school, and I was bullied by the marching band. And
Oh yeah.
He was bullied by the marching band. Well,
and I was like, seriously?
Hey, those marching bands are evil, guys. Let me tell you.
Hey,
Watch those guys, man.
flutes.
Don't
a
mess with
lot
those
has
guys.
changed since back in the day. A lot has changed.
Yeah, their flutes and trumpets and stuff. I know how to back you over the head.
Well, we'll check the chat real quick, and I don't want to keep you all night long. I mean, this is great. We've been here almost 3 hours, and it's
I know I do have to go in a few minutes, but yeah.
That's
No,
figured,
no
yeah.
problem.
Yeah, I never asked how much time you had, but we were just going and going and going. I'm like, this
That's
is
okay.
great.
We
I
can
have
go
no
another
problem.
5 minutes and then I'll skedaddle.
Yeah, let's see what everybody's saying in the chat. Travis is saying, I think an audio drama would be a good route to continue the franchise. Because it's already very music and atmosphere driven. It'll be easier to cast the characters and not worry about aging. True.
I like that. Yeah, more of that theater of the mind, like the old school radio play days. I'm digging it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Frank said before, Dave's idea was good for age 18 sequel. Barker had more to do than throughout the trilogy. Well, Barker was kind of useless, but
Barker
if you gave him more to do, it would have been a different story.
Barker was a useless stooge, and that I don't mean Omar Dorsey, who played Barker, but the character was just useless, and it made no sense either that he would be so dismissive to Hawkins in the first movie. Hawkins is like, he's talking about Halloween, and then Barker's like, what do you want me to do? Cancel Halloween?
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, the history of the town. This guy was there. It doesn't make any sense. You can be skeptical. You can be skeptical, but how dismissive he was so disrespectful. It was like, okay. I don't know if I want to work for your department anymore.
Matt thinks Loomis caused more.
He had enough of his hat.
Michael in part two. You think?
It's
How
true.
did Loomis cause? Well, I guess you can say he caused more havoc. I guess he basically got Ben Tramer killed, in essence.
Loomis. Well, he definitely. Yeah, Loomis caused more havoc than Michael in part two. Well, I mean, he didn't kill anybody, but he kind of indirectly killed Ben.
Indirectly.
Tramer. Yeah. But what the fuck was Ben Tramer doing anyway? He was just kind of, I don't know.
He was drunk.
Look both ways where he crossed the street, Ben.
He was drunk.
Well, Dick
Frank says
Warlock
I'm
was driving, wasn't he?
Mhm.
I'm interested in a movie on Laurie's memoirs, Me, the Boogeyman, and Girthy Vegetables.
And Cherry
That's funny.
Cherry
Blossoms,
blossoms,
right,
right?
Frank?
Cherry blossoms. Cherry blossoms.
Michael's ground
so good.
remains fall into a box and are taken to a meat processing facility where he's turned into hot dogs and his evil is ingested by all of Haddonfield. The curse of Oscar Myers.
That's so good. That's good. That's good. Oh
That
my
is
God, that's
insane.
good.
With the Wienermobile
That is-
wandering around, right, Travis?
That is
God.
insane.
Oh, could you imagine instead of the station wagon, he's driving around in an Oscar Mayer hot dog?
Oh my God.
Give it
That's
time. It'll
good.
be a fan film. Give it time. Somebody will do something.
Travis is our
Never know.
he's our one-hit comedian here. So
Yeah, Travis is
Mm.
good. He comes up with some good stuff.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Check your urine there, Travis. Check your urine.
So before we go, so what do you have coming up? So are you going to be doing anything to the build up to It's Me Billy Chapter 2?
Yeah, so
watch along. Obviously after it's released.
yes. Well, I will definitely do a watch along of both chapters after its release. Maybe towards Christmas. That seems, appropriate to do that. Maybe I'll do a big thing. Black Christmas, Billy 1, Billy 2. Yeah, right now we're just putting the final touches on the movie with picture and sound. And there are some podcasts that I'll be doing with Bruce and also just starting the marketing campaign. We'll start it very soon to push it. So it's coming. I mean, it's less than a month now. We're closing on just almost 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking. I'm like, when I reached out to you, I was
before
like,
you
oh,
even
God,
know it, Dave.
glad you had some time because I figured you'd be getting busy to the buildup of it. But it was nice that you were free tonight.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, no problem at all.
I absolutely appreciate it. Yeah, so yeah, we can close out this way. You got some stuff to do. I'll go after this. I'm gonna have to let my puppies out and then cry because I have to go back to work tomorrow because I hate going to work.
Oh, well, yeah.
And as the boys know. But yeah. Oh, what's this one thing? Bill says, then continuing with the Corey theme, you could have the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile versus Christine.
You could. That'd be a good movie. I'd be down for that.
To get whacked. But yeah, thanks so much for spending
Thank
some
you,
time with
Dave.
us,
Yeah.
chatting about the movie. I can't wait because these guys know what a huge aside from Halloween, what a huge Black Christmas fan I am.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Yep, definitely. And
Don't be a stranger.
Don't be a stranger down the road some other time. We got something coming up. And you ever have anything coming up? We'd love to have you on.
Sounds good. I will definitely keep you guys posted for sure.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
I gotta say, I really appreciate your insight. Appreciate you sharing some of the inside workings of how fan films and films in general are made and all that good stuff. So thank you for giving us your insight and your time. So thanks again, buddy. Thank you.
No problem, Joe. Thank you for saying that. It's my pleasure. I just I just speak from the experience, and there's no magic red button. You know what I mean? There's many different ways and many different experiences that people have, and I'm just one. So if people find value in that, then that's awesome. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Very, very cool. All right, we'll say our goodbyes offline real quick. We'll say and everybody, thanks for hanging out tonight. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that happy horse shit that everybody says. I say every week.
That's it.
Everybody do that. And we'll be back on Tuesday night because we do a movie watch alongs on Tuesday night. What did we say we were watching Tuesday? I don't even know.
We were talking what we said: Slither, Return of the Living Dead 2. We had a whole bunch of things. Hot Fuzz. We were talking about. Those were a few of the films.
We'll have to figure it out. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Hot Fuzz is on the Peacock.
It's on the cock.
We can
we'll figure it out.
Our way through it.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because he knows our podcast all that well. So yeah,
he's peacocking. He's peacocking.
Oh, God.
Hey, nothing was better than when Sean came on 2 weeks ago, and he was talking about, and he put.
Well, I got a soundbite here for you guys. You'll like this. You ready?
So, do you guys see her tits?
Yes. Yeah.
There you go.
Thank God, Joe, you're in the chat for that one, buddy.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, I have a few of them too.
What kind of cunt does that?
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
Now that's how you end a podcast. That's how you end it.
The gift that keeps on giving.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. Yep. All right.
Yeah.
Well, all right, everybody. Thanks again. thanks to Dave for hanging out. We'll say our goodbyes after. Everybody will be back on Tuesday night once we decide what the hell we're going to watch on Tuesday
Thanks
night.
for the
you go.
great chat in there, guys, in the comments.
Thanks for hanging out tonight.
Thanks,
and,
guys.
for the chat. And see everybody on Tuesday.
Cheers.
Night.